Yo, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of the Shooter Straight Podcast. It's your co-host back.
I'm your co-host G.
Welcome back to episode 31. First and foremost, we appreciate all the previous support we've been getting on all the other previous episodes. Y'all been running it up on TikTok, with YouTube Shorts, and the Reels, and all of that. We appreciate the support. G?
Absolutely, man. We love to hear from y'all, your comments, and we appreciate the likes. If you while you're down there, hit the subscribe button. We got all the links down there in the description. We really appreciate it. Help us out in the YouTube algorithm just a little bit.
Yeah. And we got the Spotify up and going, just now, like literally 10 minutes ago. So
10 minutes ago, it only took like what, 3 months?
yeah, it took like way too long for us to get that going, but it's finally up and going. So, tap into that if that's your preferred platform. But, hit the subscribe button. Like G said, we're at 354 right now. We're on the road to 1,000. We appreciate all the continued support. And, with all that being said, I think we should
Let's
just
get
get
right
straight
into it.
Yeah. So we have a special guest to talk about our first topic. It's the first special guest we've had in a minute. And, it's something we plan on incorporating more in the future. Without further ado, let's go ahead and introduce my good friend, Adam. Adam, how you doing?
Hello, I'm doing pretty good. I've been watching a lot of soccer lately.
Yeah, no, we all have.
Bro, it's called football, bro. Don't start this
No.
soccer shit.
It's soccer
It's
now.
called
It's soccer now.
It's called football.
No.
I hate those.
There's two.
Bro,
There's two countries that call it soccer in the knockout stage now.
Oh, oh Jesus.
He's right.
No, but oh god, fuck off. Not for very long, but okay.
Well, we'll get into that in a little bit here. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into our first topic of the day. USA versus Iran. The match has just taken place. It was a a significant win for the United States, I would say. And I'm gonna go ahead and pass it off to Adam first. Go ahead and give your thoughts on the match.
Initial reaction. A tale of two halves. I think is the best way to describe it. I think pre-game, obviously the nerves were going in. We knew we had to win this game in order to make the knockout stage, and I think the nerves were ramped up significantly for a lot of fans when they saw the big change that Berhalter made to the lineup, which was subbing in Cameron Carter-Vickers in for Walker Zimmerman, putting in a defender who really had made like no appearances for the U.S. up to that point, and throwing him into the fire in the biggest game in the U.S. for years. And I think a lot of people were thinking, oh, how is he going to do in this situation? Why would you change the center back pairing at this point when they've only conceded one goal in 2 games and the goal was off of a penalty? But I think he was vindicated in that decision after the 90 minutes, especially in the first half. I thought his distribution was better than anything Zimmerman could have given us. And it led us to, I think, controlling the ball possession exactly how we wanted to control the possession in that first half. I think we had them pinned in their half for most of that first half. They couldn't handle our intensity. And I think Carter Vickers, he started off a little shaky, but I think as the game grew, he was commanding that high line really well. I thought he stepped forward and stopped their counterattacks at the source multiple times in that first half, which led us to be able to sustain pressure on Iran. And eventually led us to getting that goal. That goal all came from the sustained pressure, keeping them pinned in their own half, and eventually just finding an opening. And then in the second half, it was just about weathering the storm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
No, yeah,
definitely.
the second half was absolutely it was absolutely intense. I mean, there was at many points where I thought Iran were going to get that equalizing goal, which obviously would have been, the worst case scenario for the United States. G, what was your initial reaction to the match?
I thought this match was definitely, I thought when going into it, probably the biggest match these guys have ever played in their lives. Going up against Iran, it being a must win. You can't draw, you can't lose. It's a must win. You have to score. And that's been the problem with the US. They create chances. They create chances for fun. They're a very creative team, but they're lacking the finishing. They can't seem to, get it back, force it in the net just enough, because I think that's what this team's really missing. If this team could finish just maybe even a quarter of the chances they create, we're talking about a dangerous team. But I think against Iran's a pretty good side. They're not horrible. They gave the US a run for their money. I think definitely in the second half closing, I thought they were going to score. They had two golden opportunities to equalize the game, but the US start very strong. They have that high pressure, a pressure that's hard to maintain through the entirety in that 90 minutes. That's the way we see towards the end that they kind of little waver. There's a little separation, but I think the U.S. did a very good job in controlling this game. High pressure. The entire country is watching, and I think they delivered.
100%. I can agree with that. I can agree. I think it was the most pressure filled game that 99% of these guys have ever played. And the fact that they were able to come out, weather the early storm like they did, and they came out, from moment one, they came out and they looked like the better team. And I can say that they should have looked like the better team. They are the better team, but to look like the better team, the way that they did, it was convincing. And, like Adam referred to, the tactical switch, with having CCV in there instead of Zimmerman, I think it was questionable at first, but, the way that the game played out, I think that he had a very good game, like Adam referred to. And I can say, I think that the United States going forward, they still need to find a way to convert some of these chances that they're creating because, Pulisic, he's not going to be able to bail you out consistently. And, obviously now he literally sacrificed his balls for the team right there. I
Yeah,
mean, he might,
he paid the ultimate sacrifice.
yeah, he literally
No
paid the
babies for
ultimate
him.
sacrifice.
No babies.
Yeah, no babies anymore, unfortunately.
Ooh,
But,
yeah.
I can just say that once again, the main point of this match, and the reason why the United States won this match was because of the midfield trio. Tyler Adams, Yunus Musa, and Weston McKennie, they absolutely ran the show once again, just like they did against England. This is a great midfield trio. They are going to be great for so many years to come. Musa, it was his birthday on the match. He got to celebrate his birthday with the win, and he was man of the match. He literally was player of the match, and he put up an amazing performance. And I think, going forward, looking forward to the Netherlands, he's going to have to continue to do that. We'll get into that in a second, though. But, in the second half, I knew that Iran was going to come out. They were going to try to, get that equalizing goal. And the fact that the United States was able to withstand the pressure, and hold them to nothing, I think that shows a lot about the character of this team. Tyler Adams being such a young captain, he leads this team so well. And I think, besides the fact that they are missing a true number 9, this team is pretty good. And they've really proven themselves to me. And I think that going forward, looking ahead to the 2026 World Cup, the United States is going to be a problem, for years to come. I think that's the main takeaway I have from this group stage for me with the United States.
Yeah, I think they're a very well-built defensive team. I mean, they've only conceded 1 goal, and that's from a penalty. They've conceded no goals in open play. They seem to have a good backbone and led by the midfield. I think that's probably the most important thing. I would rather have a solid midfield over anything because midfield is the most important thing. It connects your defense to your attack. If you have a bad midfield, you're not going to get very far. And the
Yeah.
United States seem to have a very good midfield for being so young. I mean,
Mhm.
Tyler Adams is 23 years old, and he's able to lead this team against very tough opposition. I mean, England and Iran. I mean, those are very important games, and they got the point. They got the points they needed out of those 2 games.
Yeah. Adam, I wanted to get your thoughts, about Greg Berhalter, because, coming into the World Cup, there was a lot of, people were skeptical of Greg Berhalter. Some people were saying to get him out. So I just want to get your thoughts. Now that this group stage is played out, they've qualified. What are your thoughts on Greg Berhalter?
So I think a lot of the criticisms from Greg Berhalter is he's not getting the best out of this group. People think that this group is capable of a lot more, and I think people would agree and disagree with that. And I think there's still people criticizing Greg Berhalter after this group stage. I think Greg Berhalter overall has done a good job of the way he sets this team up. The team structure is very, very good. I think it's proven over all 3 games. I mean, we went toe to toe with England.
Should have won that
And
game.
we should have, and we didn't. And they didn't have the
Arguably.
ball the whole time. That was pretty 50-50 on possession too. And I think people will cite the second half. Why did we drop off in the second half? Well, first of all, I would say we didn't drop off in the second half against England. I think this team needs to learn how to play with a lead. I think that's one thing we've noticed, that the U.S. seems to drop off whenever we have a lead. And is that Berhalter? Is that the team's mentality? I think I would lean towards it's the team's mentality, and I think Berhalter feeds into this mentality by making subs later in the game, like we saw it with Zimmerman, with Moore. I think the biggest criticism that I have of Berhalter is the substitutions he's making. For starters, no one knows why Gio Reyna only got those minutes he got against England. I think that Brendan Aaronson's subs have been non-ideal. I think that he has come on in moments where we didn't need him to come on. Especially in that Iran game. Reyna should have came on instead of Pulisic for me. I think Reyna would have helped us keep the ball more in that second half. I think Aaronson's mentality is just go, go, go. Reyna would have kept the ball more for us. He would have helped us get out of the pressure that Iran were putting us under. But I think I'm just going to say this. I think that the people who think that Berhalter has not done a good job with the U.S. kind of have this notion that the U.S. are better than we actually are. I don't think it's fair to think that this team should just be blowing away teams like Iran and was like, we're not that good.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I can agree with
it's
that.
kind of arrogant, in my opinion.
I did want to ask you though. Do you think Gio should be starting?
Should Gio be starting? That's a tough one because if you think he should be starting, who should he be starting for? I don't think you split up the midfield trio. I think the real conversation you're having is Reyna versus Weah. Like, which kind of profile would you rather have? I think if you're going to put in Reyna for Weah, you would probably have to put Pulisic on Weah's side and then put Reyna on the left. I think Reyna would be better off playing on the left side, but also that's Pulisic's better side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Weah, given what we've seen from him, although in the Iran game he wasn't necessarily at his best, I would say,
he's a bit unlucky.
He was a bit unlucky with some chances. He should have, I think his goal was onside. I don't know.
I mean, the line showed that he was slightly off.
No, I don't even trust those lines they show. Like, I hate the fact that it's just the inconsistency of VAR that we didn't spend not even a second on, is it on or is it off? It took them like 30 minutes to.
Because the lines could move very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it takes them like 30 minutes to make up this weird animated shit to show us that, oh, look, here's the that he's off. Like, I would rather prefer them actually like show the actual line like somewhat around the time it happened.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I have a hate and love relationship with VAR. Sometimes it's great and sometimes it's absolute shockingly bad.
Yeah.
I think the biggest issue with the lines they create is it's hard to know the exact moment of when to make those lines. You literally have to make the lines as the player is making contact with the ball to pass to the player, and it's hard to know when that specific moment is. And sometimes, in the case of Weah's goal, that's a split-second moment. Like, if you think it's a little bit earlier, he's onside.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're lucky that it didn't come down to it. Ultimately we were able to keep him to a clean sheet, so it didn't end up mattering. But if it did matter, I probably would have been more mad about it than I am. It
mattered to my heart rate.
No, it did for sure. It did for sure. I don't know. Should Gio be starting? I don't know quite about that, G. I think it's tough because I like Weah, and I think what he offers to the team is that
I like Weah as well.
He's very pacey. It's something that the United States doesn't necessarily have enough of, I would say, because
he's direct too.
He's very direct, and I like that about him. Not that Gio can't do that, but I think he's just more of a, he's not really a pure winger. He's not just running at it and taking on defenders with this pace. He's more of he's similar to Aronson. I think he's better than Aronson, which is why I find it a little interesting why Berhalter prefers Aronson so much. But that's neither here nor there. I think he should be coming on as a sub. At the bare minimum, he should be coming on as a sub. The fact that he only came on against England is concerning to me, and I don't particularly see that changing, which is the worrying thing for me. Like, if Berhalter has not shown that he wants to bring Gio on in the group stage, I don't see any reason why that's going to change. Looking forward to the Netherlands game, so it's unfortunate because I think Gio is a really good player. Yeah,
he's great for Dortmund.
Yeah, and
he's European proven,
and it's unfortunate, I would say.
I think if you're gonna bring Gio Reyna in, you're probably gonna want to switch to something like a 4-2-3-1, which is something that Berhalter has never really played.
Yeah.
Well, it's always been 4-3-3 ever since he got appointed, which is a little weird because he was a 4-2-3-1 coach at the Crew before this.
Yeah.
So why the switch in international play when 4-3-3 is probably a harder formation to coach, and you have less time with players.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting, but it seems to have worked so far, And I think part of the reason why it does work is because of the midfield trio of Adams, McKinney, and Musa is so good, so box to box. It can do it all. I mean, Musa, McKinney, and Adams, they all can get the ball and drive, but they can also defend as well. And I think that's what makes this midfield trio so good. And they just have a work rate. They just nonstop, especially Tyler Adams. He will go the full 90 nonstop. He's absolutely unbelievable. And
The American
for me,
Kante.
he's
The
been the United States
American
best player.
Kante.
Yeah, he's like the American Kante. And I know that there are so many European clubs that are going to be looking to, he's on Leeds right now, but there's so many bigger clubs. They're going to be trying to poach him away from Leeds. He's going to go to a better team. It's inevitable.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But looking forward, the United States now, on Saturday, they play the round of 16 game against the Netherlands. And, this is probably the biggest match of, Iran was the biggest match in these guys' lives. Well, now it's this one. Now they're playing the real biggest match. And this is for all the marbles, pretty much. It's win or go home at this point. So I don't know which one of y'all wants to take this first, but whichever.
I'll let Adam take this one.
What is your expectation for this match? And then ultimately, what do you think will happen in the match? What a score?
So talk about the Netherlands, our opponent. The Netherlands are a team that have very much surprised me in this tournament. Mostly, not necessarily because they're better than I thought, but because they're kind of the exact opposite of what I thought they were going to be going into this tournament. I thought they were going to be a team that was controlling the majority of their games, but was going to lack that cutting edge in front of goal. And in the 3 games that we've seen, especially against Senegal and against Ecuador, they haven't really had control of either of those games, but they had that cutting edge that I thought they didn't have. And that's because of the player they have up top, Cody Gakpo, who, if he gets a half chance in this World Cup, he's scoring right now.
Yeah, Gakpo scored in every single game he's played so far.
Tied for the Golden Boot lead right now.
Yeah.
He's on fire right now. The Netherlands have been ruthless.
And he's like 23 years old. He's super young.
Yeah, all the big clubs are going to be calling for him now.
The Netherlands have been absolutely ruthless in front of goal. I mean, they've created, I think, 4 big chances. They scored 5 goals. The U.S. have created 5 big chances, scored 2 goals. So that kind of shows the difference between these two teams in front of goal right now. Still a very hard team to score against. I mean, that's what you would expect with a team that plays 5 defenders, and one of those defenders happens to be and one of those defenders is Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah.
And they've only conceded the 1 goal in the tournament, just like the U.S. So logically, this sounds like it's going to be a very low-scoring game, but we've seen crazier things in soccer. Sometimes you think it's going to be low-scoring, all of a sudden you got a 4-3 game. So it's very hard to predict. I think that the U.S. can get at. I think if the U.S. can get at them, I think the Netherlands all are vulnerable, though. Especially against Ecuador, we saw the Netherlands get outshot 15-2 in that game.
Yeah.
So I think if the U.S. does come out and they do and they are aggressive with their pressing, I think that the U.S. has a great shot in this game. They can make this game very competitive.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So what would you say if you had to take a guess right now? What would the score prediction?
The score prediction. I think the U.S. are going to find it hard to score, like they've had in all games. I feel like I have to back the U.S. though, right? I mean,
you got to die on the sword.
I have to back us, right? So I'm gonna say, I think we'll get one in the first half because that's kind of been our half, and then we'll fall back a bit in the second half. The Netherlands will get an equalizer, and then we'll nick one late and win 2-1.
Okay.
2-1 win for the United States.
Who scores the winner?
In normal, who scores the winner?
What do you think? Who are you backing?
It's a Weston McKennie header.
Weston McKennie. Oh, he's the header. Okay,
actually, that might be a good guess. Weston McKennie might be taken off by then.
Yeah, he usually gets subbed off for the 16-minute, I think is a bit, I mean,
it's something I honestly expected Weston to be doing better on the set pieces. The set piece delivery so far this World Cup hasn't been that great from Pulisic specifically, but Weston, he always scores headers, especially for Juventus. So I don't know. I expected him to maybe bag one by now.
Get one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big worry I have with this team in knockout soccer is that defending and attacking set pieces we have not been good. Like
Mhm.
especially against Wales. Wales somehow did not score off one of the corners they had. Like they
Yeah.
created
I
bursts
remember
of chances off their
even the
corners,
England game. They keep such a high line.
even off
Mhm.
corners.
Oh,
Like
dude.
we're not a very aerially dominant team. Like
Mhm.
even that center back pairing that I was praising earlier between Ream and Carter Vickers, they won less than half of their aerial duels in that game.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Reem, he's had a great World Cup though. So yeah, and to much surprise, especially to me. Look, I didn't think Reem was going to be this good, for this team, but he has been. So, G, I'll pass this one off to you before I go ahead and give my expectations to the match. What do you
Oh
think going
God.
into this game, the United States and the Netherlands?
I think I think it's gonna be a pretty ugly game. These are two pretty solid defensive teams, and I think it's just gonna be, the U.S. in the first half is gonna put them on them. They're gonna be all over them, but I think they're gonna struggle to create as many chances that they've been creating, and I don't think they're clinical enough to finish the little chances they would get. I see this one, U.S. starting off strong, having a somewhat dominant first half, and then second half, like Adam said, probably taking a step off. But I have it being a 0-0 and going to penalties. I I have a feeling this is going to be the one to go to penalties, and if it's going to penalties, I gotta back the U.S. As much as I've been giving Zach shit, off camera about how the U.S. are going out. With penalties, literally anything can happen, and I think the U.S. players have the moxie to get by on penalties. I think they'll get it. If I were to predict it, I think U.S. just don't miss a pen, and I think they just save one from Netherlands. All it takes is the one. So I got the U.S. going through on penalties.
That's bold, considering how young this team is to have that moxie, as you say, to be able to win on penalties against a somewhat experienced Dutch side. That would be incredible, I would say. But if it does come down to
I think
penalty
I,
shooting,
I think
I
they
trust Matt Turner.
Yeah, you got to trust Matt Turner in that
Matt Turner is
situation.
a
yeah.
beast. So, look, I have to agree with both of y'all. For all the points that both of y'all made, I think it's fair. I think I can agree with G that it is going to be a slightly ugly game because both of these teams are very strong defensively, and the Netherlands also do have a great midfield, but the United States has prided itself on its midfield so far this tournament. So I think this match comes down to if the U.S. can win the midfield battle once again. If they can win the midfield battle and be dominant with their midfield trio, they're going to have a good chance in this match. I think there's not going to be many chances for either side, and that tends to bode well for the Netherlands, considering, like Adam said, they've been so clinical in front of goal with their chances that they do get. I would anticipate it going to extra time. I think it's going to be 1-1 after full time. Maybe the U.S. gets a goal in the first half, Netherlands get one in the second half, it goes to extra time. And I have it going to pens as well. I think that it's going to be tough for either of these two teams to score. They're both going to get a goal, but it's going to be tough. I don't see this being a blowout by any stretch of the imagination. I don't really see either team being able to score 2 or 3 goals. It's going to be a simple 1-1, go into penalties. And then, like we already reiterated, if it goes to penalties, you got to trust Matt Turner, especially with the tournament that he's been having. He's one of, if not the best shot stopper at the World Cup. So I have to back Matt Turner. Give me the U.S. on penalties, 5-3 on penalties. Simple as that. 1-1 after full time, 1-1, and then 5-3 on penalties. I think it's good. It's going to be an ugly game, but I think that suits the United States.
Do the Netherlands have Tim
Yeah.
Krul this time around?
Do they have Tim
Tim
Krul?
Krul. I
I
think isn't
don't
Tim
know.
Krul like 40?
Yeah, they probably don't, right? They don't have him on penalties, so
No,
they can't win a penalty
I
shootout
think
this time.
yeah, probably not. Yeah,
I
we
doubt.
gotta have your boy Babs on, bro. I like them little Babs things.
Well, no,
Gotta
I think
ask him.
I think we could both, me and Adam could both assure you that Babs would be the most deluded fan for the Netherlands of all time. I mean, he thinks that
His
Depay is winning the
delusion
Golden
has no
Boot.
end.
So.
Bro, Depay's got a
How
shot,
is he
bro.
getting
I
a
mean,
mention?
shit.
Depay, look,
Depay.
Depay is not scoring. I can 100% guarantee that. Depay
I
is
did
not
not
scoring on the
expect
United States.
him to get a mention.
Your stamp on a
This-
guarantee on that?
I'm putting the stamp
Look,
guarantee
look.
on Memphis Depay not
A
scoring.
guarantee by Zach is almost like a kiss of death, dude. I remember even going far back as like even when Dembele first joined Barcelona. I'll never forget that shit, man. Where Dembele is playing horrible for Barcelona his first season, and then he guarantees me going into the Chelsea game when Barcelona played in the Champions League that I told him Dembele's gonna score this match. He's like, no way he does, and then he scores a screamer. And I was like, bruh. But so if I were a betting man, if I work at Vegas right now, the odds just went up.
Now you're betting on it to buy Golden Boot.
You got to bet. I'll bet on it. But I won't my hard-earned money on it.
He couldn't even score against Qatar. I won't be betting on that.
Qatar.
But trust me, I have stories of Zach jinxing things.
Yeah, well,
Zach's the worst jinxer. Not the Orlando City, really.
But
we don't need to talk about this.
Oh God!
But,
please, God, no.
Adam, I wanted to get more in-depth thoughts about your thoughts on Matt Turner so far this World Cup.
Damn. Well, we knew coming into this tournament that Matt Turner was a great shot stopper. He was very good at all the fundamentals of being a goalkeeper, claiming crosses. But I think a lot of people have been surprised with his distribution this World Cup and the ability with his feet. I remember in World Cup qualifying, whenever the ball would go to Matt Turner's feet, I think every U.S. fan's heart stopped. Like, they didn't trust him with the ball at his feet, especially when there was a player nearby him. But I think he's slowly calming the nerves of those people. Like, I remember even against Iran, he had one point where he had the ball on his left foot with a defender pressuring him, and he kicked the ball into the middle. And I was like, no, what are you doing? And then it ended up just going to McKennie wide open.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, he saw that. And that's when I was like, okay, this guy is good with his feet now.
He's starting to get it.
Maybe he starts for Arsenal now.
That's what I was going to ask you because you hinted at it. Do you think Matt Turner should be starting for Arsenal when the World Cup is over?
I would not throw him into the starting 11 like off the rip because you don't want to change what's working right now.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Arsenal top of the league.
The smart answer, yeah.
But I mean, if
Yeah.
If Ramsdale's poor shot stopping, like if shot type takes a downturn like it did the last season, I mean Matt Turner. Maybe Arteta thinks maybe we should go for Matt Turner.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe see if
does Arteta
the
even
ability with his feet is good enough.
Shit.
No, Arteta likes
no, he does. But yeah, it would take a huge tournament for him to do that. I mean, especially with him being top of the league. But I would agree with Adam with that. Yeah, it would take Ramsdale just to fall off a cliff.
Yes, I mean, some Arsenal fans are not happy with Ramsdale. I think that's why the question was posed. And plus, Matt Turner having a good tournament so far. So,
dude, how can you be happy when not being top of the league, dude? That's some like Arsenal fan shit. I never heard that in my life,
I think
bro.
he's extremely pleased with it.
I wanted to
the top of the league.
Go back to
something
you guys are saying because you guys both had the U.S. getting through extra time. In your scores, I do not like our chances in extra time.
You don't.
To be honest, because I think we've seen with our players that the fitness levels just aren't there with like the top teams. And like against England, for example, in the second half, it seems like at times England's just had superior fitness levels to that of ours. And I just feel like in extra time, the Dutch fitness levels could play a massive factor, especially because we have not seen Berhalter use his subs well.
I could agree with that. It definitely has. Definitely, the subs haven't been used well. I just think I find it hard to believe that we'd be able to hold the Dutch to a clean sheet, and I don't think, if they score, obviously we're gonna have to score, and I don't see us scoring like 2-3 goals or whatever. So, I see it. It's either gonna be 1-1, like I said, or it's gonna get to that point where the fitness levels may play a factor, and then the Dutch, they ultimately sneak a goal in. Hopefully that doesn't happen. I have to back the U.S. I think that's why I lean towards the way that I lean. Going with extra time here.
I just don't think the Netherlands have the firepower to do that.
That's why I put the U.S. win in normal time.
Yeah. I mean, look, If they can
In no
score 2
time.
goals, that'd be great. The problem is they've only scored 2 goals throughout the whole group stage, so, I don't know if that's gonna happen. And plus,
Gotta do it in one game now.
given the Netherlands playing 5 at the back, anti-football Van Gaal tactics, I don't know. They're gonna be difficult to break down.
I don't know if I'd call it anti-football.
Anytime I think
Anybody
5
that
at the
plays
back.
5 in the back is anti-football. That's like a sin. It's like a cardinal sin, bro. You play 5 in the back, you literally deserve just to be like publicly executed, dude.
But it doesn't operate like a 5
It's
in the
like,
back when you have
it's
the ball.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Netherlands, obviously they are slightly more attacking than the average 5 at the back team, but it's the overall 5 at the back concept. I don't like 5 at the back, and it's just
yeah.
it's what it is for me.
Especially on defense, bro. It's so annoying, man. It's just like,
It's so difficult to
why?
break down.
You just
I
put
understand why they
everybody
do it.
behind the ball, man. I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah,
It makes sense, but it's like obviously it's more of like a from the middle factor. Like I don't, it's like from watching it just as a neutral, kind of not the greatest thing to watch. But like if my team were just doing 5 at the back and it was working, I wouldn't give a shit though. To be fair.
yeah, no, I could agree with that.
Yeah, but when the Netherlands formation,
Yeah.
if you play that like correctly and in the best way possible, it's not a defensive formation.
Mm-hmm.
It's not meant to be a formation in which you just sit back and counterattack the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's how Van Gaal intends it.
But the problem with the Netherlands is that they're not creating the chances, so I don't know.
Yeah. So it kind of does kind of seem what it feels like it falls into that because they're not really scoring that much. So like it would kind of seem like they just sit back a lot. But I think they don't necessarily sit back a lot. It's just they're kind of trying to break teams down and they struggle to break teams down because they don't really have, like kind of like the US, they don't have that 1-9. I mean, I don't know how to tell you. Depay, they ain't doing it right now, man. But
they don't have Robin and Van Persie anymore. That's for sure.
No, definitely not.
They got to get them back out there.
Like they did back in the day.
Van Nistelrooy.
The Netherlands have always had iconic 9s, but
they do have
not
Gakpo though.
They do have Gakpo.
They
do have Gakpo.
He's not bad. He's pretty good.
Any
final words about the US, Adam?
The US just needs to go for it. They need to press high. They need to try and control the game with the ball as much as possible. And if they do those things, especially in the first half, they grab a goal. That second half, anything can happen.
Mm-hmm.
The US has a real chance this Saturday, and a chance to make it to the farthest that they've ever gone in a World Cup in my lifetime, even though I was 1 year old when we made the quarterfinals.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't exactly see that.
Yeah, no, me either.
You couldn't get that on the television?
I'd like to see that.
I would love to see it as well. And all three of us have it happening, I will say, maybe a little bit of it is that
I don't think any of it's bias. I think it's all logic.
I think
absolutely no bias,
It's all logic, 100% all logic.
Like it's like a math equation in my brain. I worked it out. The US is only winning.
Yeah. 100%. If I'm a betting man, bet the house on them. Go to Vegas right now. Bet the house.
Oh, Jesus.
United States middle line. Go bet the house. It's happening.
Fair. It's fair.
But I think that's all we got for the U.S. And, we would like to thank my good friend Adam for coming on the pod. I doubt it would be the last time. It was a Shooter Straight debut. Hopefully it's not the last. You did good, and we appreciate you for coming on.
And thank you for having me. I enjoyed talking about the U.S. with you guys. And who knows? Hopefully this isn't the last time.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to.
Next time we talk. Yeah, we'll be
about the
looking at a bit of
exactly.
The next round.
That's what I was gonna say. Hopefully we'll make it.
We're playing Argentina.
Exactly, we're gonna be playing Argentina in the quarterfinals,
or Australia.
Maybe Australia. I can't say Argentina for sure.
I can say Argentina for sure, but that's
okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna say Australia. Australia's not making it. Sorry, Aussies, bro. You're not going very far.
Yeah, no, they're definitely not. But
it's gonna get clipped when Australia wins, and they make those montages of anybody.
Bro, look. If Australia win, dude, I will shave my head. I'll go bald.
Oh,
It's not happening.
That's bold.
Oh, it's
we
not
got the
happening, dude.
recording.
There's no way.
This is
Yeah,
recording. It's
there's
going
not
on
a chance in
YouTube,
hell.
Spotify. It's
Dude,
going
I've
everywhere.
been growing out my hair for like what fucking 2 years now, dude. But it's not happening. It's not happening.
Yeah,
not
I don't think it's happening.
Aussies are going home.
Yeah, well, because the goat Messi, he's going to lead him to glory, but it's neither here nor there.
Yeah,
But like I said, we appreciate
absolutely.
appreciate it to Adam for coming on. It won't be the last time for sure. Especially, I think when the United States win, we know he'll come back on. So I can say that
All right. Well, thank you guys for having me.
for
Thank
sure.
you, Zach. Thank you, G.
For sure.
No problem. No problem, bro.
See you next time.
See you.
Take care, buddy.
Okay. First time we had a guest in
fun.
a while, so it's good. And
That
now
was
we're back
fun.
into swing of
Yeah.
things.
It's nice
hopefully-
bouncing shit off someone.
100%. But moving forward,
That's not completely delusional.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. Moving forward, we have the other match that just took place today, and a big match.
Yeah, a couple
Messi
hours ago.
versus Lewandowski, Argentina versus Poland. It was so key, this match. It was high stakes. Argentina needed the win to top the group. Ultimately, they were able to get the win, 2-0. G, what was your initial reaction to this match of Argentina getting the win?
It's huge, absolutely huge. Going into the next round, Argentina looked. This is the best performance we've seen so far. They're getting better, and this is what we alluded to after that Iran loss. That they kind of needed that loss to set themselves up for this. This game, they came out in Poland. They were just on Poland. They put it on them the entire time. Poland couldn't breathe. Realistically, Argentina were creating chances from the opening 5 minutes. They already had a shot on goal. This is the Argentina that we expected the entire time from the get-go. We didn't really get it, but now we're starting to see it. It took a little bit of a change. They decided to bench Martinez, which, I thought was a bit of a head scratcher for a sec, but it turned out to be not a bad play. And they came out very strong, and they were able to snag the lead right at the beginning of the second half. I thought they should have scored in the first half. A bit unlucky with the penalty, a pretty poor penalty, but this game had Argentina written all over it. Poland are just bad. They are just bad. I don't know how they've even been able to sneak out of this group. They're just so poor. They can't create chances. Lewandowski could barely get a lick of the ball. It's shocking. I'd have to look it up, but I would doubt he had more than a handful of shots at all. His entire team, I'd be surprised. I don't know if Lewandowski had a shot on target. And when you have a 9 like that, and you can't muster really any clear-cut chances for him, you're not going very far. And it's unfortunate. But props to them. They made it out of the group. They don't really get the chance to go this far really in the World Cup, but fair enough to them. But this game was Argentina's coming out fully. That even coming off that loss, they finished top of the group. It didn't change from what we predicted. I said Argentina would finish top of this group, and that's what they did.
100%, I can agree with that. This game was so important because if Argentina somehow managed to bottle this game and they finished second in the group, France was calling their name in the next round, the round of 16.
Yeah,
that could not happen. Argentina needed to win this game, and it's exactly what they did. From minute 1, they commanded this game. They set the tempo. They were dominant the entire first half. They got a little bit of a lucky pen. Ultimately Szczesny, who had an amazing game, was able to make the save. But even after Messi did miss the pen, it just still felt like Argentina, it was inevitable that they were going to score at some point because you thought potentially Poland were going to gain some momentum after the missed pen and create some more attacking chances, but it just wasn't the case. They could not create anything. Lewandowski, he had 0 shots the entire game. He only touched the ball 36 times. And most of the time when he was touching the ball, he had 4 defenders around him immediately because they just hoofed it up to Lewandowski and hoped he could do something. But when it's 4v1, and he's running at the defense, he can't do anything. It's Lewandowski. What do you think?
No.
He's Messi or something? He ain't doing that. It's not his game. they cannot even get him the service to score. Lewandowski, he's a striker. He's a true number 9. He needs some service. Poland, they aren't getting him any service. They cannot even do anything. Ultimately, I don't even know, like you said, I don't know how they've even made it out of the group. They have been extremely lucky to even make it out of the group, but fair play to them for being able to do so. But literally, Szczesny was the only really good player on the pitch today for Poland, and it's not Lewandowski's fault. He didn't really do anything wrong per se. He just didn't get the service. Szczesny had an absolutely amazing game, but my focus is on Argentina. This was for sure their best game of the tournament, in my opinion. From minute 1 to minute 90 or whatever plus stoppage time when it ended, they dominated the game. They looked the better team. Messi, even though he missed the pen, he looked engaged into the match the entire time. He was always getting on the ball. He was able to, connect play like he always likes to do. Di Maria had another good game. DePaul, it wasn't a good game by any stretch of the imagination, but he played better than he had done.
It wasn't horrible. Yeah,
he wasn't horrible. He played better than he had in the previous 2 games. McAllister, he was able to get the first goal. He had a good game. The only player for Argentina who I could say had a game that I wasn't too impressed by was Acuna, but even that was mostly in the attacking half because
he had in the first half he had a very good shot on target that was just wide of the post.
Yeah. And my complaints with Acuna were just because of him in the attack, but it wasn't anything defensively, which is ultimately what your main duty as a left back, is defending. And Poland weren't creating any chances. It was just Acuna wasn't quite getting it going in the attack, and he was kind of, he had one good shot, but then he was also some loose touches here and there. But ultimately, even he didn't play a bad game. This Argentina defense, they didn't really get tested per se, but he looked solid. And Enzo Fernandez, who had scored the banger goal against Mexico, he had a good game. There is literally no complaints from this Argentina team. From the goalkeeper to the striker, everyone in between, they all played good games. They were solid, no mistakes for the most part. And, coming into the match, it was a questionable decision by Scaloni to start Julian Alvarez over Lautaro Martinez, who, Lautaro has proved himself for the national team time and time again in the Copa America. And, also in the World Cup, he hadn't scored a goal, but he had been a crucial part of this team. And in this crucial game, Scaloni starts Julian Alvarez. And Julian Alvarez is a great player. Pep Guardiola, he signed him for a reason. He likes him for a reason. And he proved himself. I wasn't too worried about it, but some people were. He ended up scoring the icing on the cake goal that, sealed the deal 100%. And even before that goal, he looked dynamic. He looked like a guy who was eager. He was hungry, and he was able to really help.
His pressing is what really stuck out. He pressed.
He was doing things that Lautaro Martinez simply doesn't do for this team. Not that Lautaro is bad, not that he shouldn't be playing, but I think Julian Alvarez has stuck his stamp in there. Like, okay, now is more of a debate. Who do you play, Lautaro or Julian Alvarez? And I'll pose the question to you, and we'll probably get into their next game against Australia in the round of 16 here. But in their next game against Australia, do you think Julian Alvarez should be starting over Lautaro Martinez?
I believe Julian Alvarez will be starting. Lautaro has been unlucky. I mean, he had a chance to score in this game. A bit of a rough angle. Szczesny was able to come out and make it very tough on him, but it's something you would think Lautaro would be able to finish, but he's really needing that one goal to get his confidence back. But for this Argentina team, he just seems not to be doing what needs to be done at the moment. Like, they need a lot of pressing, and that's what Alvarez does. He goes and he presses, he's constantly running because I think he's got a little bit more legs on him. He's a bit younger, I believe. Not by a lot, not to say Lautaro's old or nothing, but it's just not his game. Lautaro's a bit of Lautaro Martinez, he's a bit of a poacher. He sits there and he waits. He waits for the ball to get his feet so he can finish, but his finishing's not quite there. And if the one thing you have him there to do to finish and he's not doing it, then what do you necessarily have him out there for? I think it's important that they keep playing him and keep coming him on, keep bringing him on, because you're going to want him to somewhat get his feet wet, because I think you're going to need him when you go against the top echelons. Against Australia, you don't really have to worry about, Lautaro Martinez is not firing on full cylinders. I don't know if we're going to win. It's just that you sub him on at maybe halftime. If you're not going to start him, you bring him on at halftime. Let him see if he can get a goal, because realistically, I think Julian Alvarez. What's I keep forgetting his name.
Julian Alvarez.
Julian Alvarez. I keep every time I forget his first name. But I think he's going to be good to beat Australia. But when you're talking about like the upper echelons, like maybe at the end, maybe a France or maybe a Brazil, I would prefer to play Lautaro Martinez because Martinez has beaten Brazil. He's beaten those top teams, and he's won a Copa America.
Mm-hmm.
So as of right now, I would say try to get Lautaro more warmed up, bring him on at halftime. But yeah, so start Alvarez.
Well, I can agree with that. I think for this next match against Australia, that Julian Alvarez will be starting instead of Lautaro Martinez. And honestly, so far, based on what I've seen from the World Cup, it's deservedly so. Alvarez hasn't had as many chances as Lautaro Martinez, and he scored a goal. Lautaro has not been able to. And Lautaro was unlucky to score that kind of offside goal in the first game against Saudi Arabia. Maybe it wasn't offside, whatever. That's neither here nor there. I think given what Julian Alvarez is adding to this team, with the pressing, with he's able to get on the ball, and he can drift and he can play more of the wing, and he can allow Messi to kind of play that center forward role. He can play a true striker. He can do more things that Lautaro necessarily can't do. And I think that is important to this Argentina team. And I think all things considered, he should be the starter for now. But I can also agree, you don't want to just completely get Lautaro fold completely. You don't want to do that, because you're going to need him at some point. It's going to become a game when you're going to need a goal, and you're going to want to bring on your proven goal scorer, someone who's done it in Serie A, someone who's done it for the national team in Copa America, and you're going to need Lautaro Martinez. So I think against Australia, you start Julian Alvarez because he deserves it, and based on what he's been showing, he obviously does deserve it. But you bring on Lautaro Martinez and you let him get his opportunity to continue playing with this team, continue playing with Messi, and get some chances to score. I think it's one of those things. His confidence isn't as high as it needs to be right now. I think he needs to find a goal to get his confidence back, and it's tough to get a game to get that confidence back. Because in the World Cup, it's so do or die. But given the opponent here, I think you can get away with subbing him on at halftime against Australia and giving him a full 45 to potentially score against Australia. Ultimately, the question is going to be past Australia, if they are able to move on, what do you do then? Because it's really experience versus, the youngster that has proven himself so far.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going based on, what he's done in his career with Lautaro Martinez, or are you going to go with the guy who's been doing it right now? Who's on good form, Julian Alvarez. That's going to be the question for Scaloni, and it's going to be tough. But it might not come down to that, because if Lautaro Martinez is able to find a little bit of his confidence back against Australia, I think it's no doubt who's going to be starting. But if he doesn't score and he continues to miss clear-cut chances like Lautaro Martinez did today, it's going to be a debate, and it's going to be interesting to see exactly how that plays out. I wasn't expecting it because, even though I rate Julian Alvarez highly, Lautaro Martinez, he's done it for so long for this Argentina national team. I didn't know he was going to get dropped. I didn't expect it. But now that it's happened, it's something that you can't quite go back on necessarily. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
I would agree as well. Yeah.
But
I really highly rate Lautaro Martinez. I really like him as a striker, but it's just that he's hit bad form. So
he's
hit
bad form for a long time.
And I think Scaloni, I respect it that he's willing to, not be like other managers that don't really care if, certain players aren't playing well, that prefer to play players that they just personally like above them, even if they're playing bad, even if they're not, what you need right now. He's willing to make the changes, and he does make changes in mid game. He makes tactical changes. He's watching the game, and he's paying attention. And I think that's another thing that Argentina are really benefiting from, that they have a guy like him that's really making a difference. Because I think if you just have like the past managers that they've had before, they would be struggling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There are a lot of managers in the World Cup who struggle with making those tactical decisions and making the right substitutions. Like we just got done talking about with Greg Berhalter. U.S. have been doing good, but the substitutions, they've been off, in my opinion. And, you look at Gareth Southgate. we know we know what's been going on with him. But Argentina, they
Yeah.
are lucky to have a manager like Scaloni who is not afraid to make the big changes. He's not afraid to do what's best for the team. He's not afraid to do something in the middle of the game if he sees something is not working. Ultimately, his tactical changes might not have worked against the Saudi Arabia to make a comeback in that sense, but since then they've been spot on, and they've gotten him to win against Mexico, which they desperately needed, and it got him a crucial win against Poland, and now they're set up for with a beautiful match against Australia. And I think, like you never want to say a match is clear cut, but to me, and I think to you, this is looking about as clear cut as any match in the round of 16 might be looking. And I'll go ahead and get your overall thoughts on the game here. What is your expectation and thoughts going into this match, Australia versus Argentina, round of 16?
I think it's going to be really important that Argentina take this seriously. That it's Australia. Yeah, to be fair, they're not France, but they have to take them with seriously because anything can always happen in knockout football. It's just how it is. But I back them to see this game through, and I see them winning comfortably. I mean, they finally caught the form that we expected them to have from the get go. But now having that Saudi loss, understanding that everybody in this World Cup is here to play. I mean, realistically, there's like nobody that's just going to roll over and just give it to you. And, I think that they're going to go into this game very strong. They're going to come out with that same pressure they came against Poland, and they're going to win. I would say I'd put about 3-0 on it.
3-0?
I got, Messi scoring. I got Messi scoring one, and then, I got, who else could that, fancy. I'll give Di Maria and Julian Alvarez. I'll get that trio on the
If
score
Julian
sheet.
Alvarez is able to score again, it's going to be real interesting, like we said, going forward with that number 9 position for the Argentina national team. But I 100%
Yeah.
agree. It is very, very important that Argentina takes this as serious as possible. Take this game against Australia like they're playing France. You have to put at it with the same intensity. You have to look at it just like they've been looking at these previous 2 games against Mexico and Poland. To win or go home at this point. It is all or nothing. And I think given the situation Argentina have been in, losing their initial game to Saudi Arabia and then having pretty much 2 must-win games back-to-back against solid teams in Mexico and Poland, even though they're not the greatest, they're solid. Similar to Australia, they're solid, but they're not great. And given that they've already played 2 must-win games, I think that they are going to take this extremely serious. I think they're not going to take this opponent lightly, and I think that bodes well for Argentina. They're going to put their foot on the gas from minute 1. They know they're the better side. They're going to pretty much, I expect it to go very similar to this Poland game, except for the fact that Australia don't quite have Szczesny in goal, who what a World Cup he's had so far.
Yeah, he's been saving them.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that it is going to be very Argentina possession based. They're going to create a lot of chances, and ultimately they might not score their first chance, and it might take them a half. It might take them 30 minutes to finally break through, but they are going to break through. And I don't see Australia creating too much. They might have 1 or 2 chances. I think they probably offer a little bit more going forward in terms of what we've seen so far than potentially Poland do, but that's not saying much. Poland, even though they have one of the best 9s of this generation, they just don't have the support around them. Australia, they have some quality players, but they're not quite, gonna have that killer instinct, and they're not quite gonna be able to hold enough possession against this team to create that much. So it's gonna bode well for Argentina. I think they're gonna have a lot more shots in the game. They're probably gonna have much more possession. We're looking at probably 70-30 in possession or something like that. And
Yeah, something like that.
all of that just leads for an Argentina dominant win. And if I had to put a score prediction on it, I'm gonna go ahead and say it's gonna be 2-0. It's gonna be 2-0. And I think I don't see Australia scoring. It's just Argentina's defense is very solid, very, very strong. And
they've gone 2 straight games without conceding. I mean, other than the 5-minute blunder against Saudi.
Exactly.
I mean, this is a very good set up defensive team. This is what they were going into the World Cup, and I still believe that. The
100%.
only things where they get a little shaky, I mean, like with every team, their set pieces. I mean, they gave up a very, very clear chance to Poland. I mean, Poland's only good chance came off a set piece, a header that was just wide, I believe. Oh, I can't name the defender right now. I think he's leaving my brain, having a fucking brain fart. But they're literally their only clear chance was off a set piece. And I think because Argentina are starting to, their defense is starting to step up a little bit more. But that's the only thing that I think where it could get a little bit dangerous for them, that from set pieces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can agree with that. And that goes with any game. Set pieces are so crucial in knockout football. And, that's going to be something to watch going forward here. But I don't think that this particular game is going to come down to that, just because the gap between these two teams is just too far. And I think it's just going to be a very comfortable, win, because I think Argentina, they find a way to score early. And then, from there, they kind of not necessarily cruise control, but they're just going to be able to continue to hold possession. And at a certain point, Australia are going to have to come out of whatever defensive shell they are in and go for it a little bit. And that's when Argentina are going to be able to pierce through the back line of the Socceroos of Australia and, find a way to nick that second goal. And ultimately, they'll be moving on, hopefully to be playing the United States. However, it could be the Netherlands in the quarterfinals. We'll definitely be talking about that potential matchup when it does come. But I think that's all, for Australia versus Argentina. It's pretty clear cut and dry, I would say.
Yeah. And we did mention France, and I think that's a good little segue into what we would
in the fact
the
that
next matchup.
And against Poland, who just obviously played against Argentina, and they didn't quite look too convincing. And I think, look, if they playing Argentina and then France back to back, it's tough. But
yeah, that's not ideal.
But my question for you: do you give Poland any chance of pulling off one of the biggest upsets and beating France?
Last time I gave a team no chance, it turned out to be a draw. But, I'm willing to die on that sword. There's not a chance in hell that Poland even sniff this French team. Not that to say the French team's untouchable, but to Poland, they're untouchable. I mean, Poland just don't create enough chances. They just don't. And I doubt they're going to be able to create very many more against the French. I mean, the French did kind of take a little foot off the gas against Tunisia, but that was a game that really didn't matter. They already qualified.
It was
They
their
already,
B team.
And yeah, there was 5 changes at the starting line. I don't really take that game as like anything against France. I mean, it just shows that you're probably not gonna ever make those 5 changes. Actually, it tells you about what changes you're gonna make probably after, like sub wise. But a fully running French team is gonna run through this Poland team. I think I'd be surprised if it's not more than 2. I'd be surprised. If it's anything less than 2, then it's going to be, I think it's a good measuring stick somewhat to, how if France beat them, how much they beat them by, because Argentina were able to dominate this team. And if the French somewhat have some type of struggle against them, that's going to be, to me, I'm going to look at that and I'm going to take that, if they're struggling against Poland, then, but I doubt they do. There's not really a shot. This French team is really good, and I'm still high on them making the final again. And I think it's not going to be much of a challenge for them.
Well, I tend to 100% agree with you there. This is about as cut and dry as a round of 16 matchup could possibly get, in my opinion. And this is no disrespect to Poland, but France are just miles better, in my opinion, in pretty much every position.
No disrespect, but disrespect.
You could
respectfully
make the argument
disrespect.
Pretty much besides Lewandowski, there is not a single Poland player who is even sniffing the French starting 11. It's just quite simple. And their tactics, I don't back their tactics at all. They're going to come out and be very defensive. It's pretty much, they're going to take the same blueprint that they did against Argentina, which got them a 2-0 loss, and they're going to try to execute the same way against France. And I don't see it working. They're going to try to be sitting back and pretty much create 0 chances. And honestly, I feel like they're just going to be going for the 0-0 all the way to penalties and hope they can find a way. And I don't see that working. You are never going to be able to hold this France team playing so defensive and absorbing so much pressure for 90 minutes, potentially 120 minutes if it even gets that far to extra time. It's just not going to happen. Given that they've even France they've even given some of their stars that little extra bit of rest, which I think might play a big role. I think, they rested Mbappe
Yeah.
and they were able to rest a lot of those other players. I think that those guys are going to all come out firing. I expect Poland to concede early in this game. I think Mbappe probably nicks one very, very early. And then from there, it's going to be, cruise control. And France are going to easily win this
Yeah.
game. If I had to put a score prediction on it, I'm going to go 3-0 France. I don't think Poland, they're even going to get a sniff of the French goal. And France are just going to, pretty much dominate this entire match for the most part. It's pretty cut and dry for me. And it's going to be, obviously, I'm going to watch it. I'm excited to see it, still, even though it's not going to be the most exciting game.
Absolutely.
But like I can say, I think it's going to be boring to a certain extent because it's pretty cut and dry what's going to happen. I don't give Poland much chance. It's football. It's soccer at the end of the day. So you're not going to give them no chance. If I'm putting percentage on it, 90% France, 10% Poland. But my score prediction, give me 3-0 France pretty convincingly, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I'd have to agree with that, And I think with that one, there's really not much else to really touch upon. We agreed completely on that one. Going into another one where the next matchup we're going to speak on, I want to get a little bit of your opinions on because it's Senegal versus England, and England coming off their final game made a couple changes against Wales that looked like they're pretty good. So I wanted to get your ideas of England going into this matchup against the Senegal team.
I think that this is going to be a very interesting game because we've seen pretty much England in the group stages. They dominated Iran and they dominated Wales very convincingly. And then they played a very poor match against the United States. And in my opinion, the United States was the second best team in this group by a good amount. Even though the United States weren't able to do that well against Wales, they are much better than Wales. It's just the facts. So in the only game that the United States or that England played a kind of somewhat decent opponent, they capitulated. They didn't play their ball. They didn't play how they want to play. And I would put Senegal on a very similar level with Senegal without Mane. I put them on a very similar level to the United States. Maybe slightly better for Senegal, because they have some world-class players, but it's not too big of a difference. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this game plays out. I think Senegal, they have a very strong defense, and they're going to be tough to break down, led by Koulibaly, who just scored his first international goal. It's going to be very interesting to see that it's this English attack versus this Senegalese defense. It's going to come down to that, I think. For England, it's going to be, for me, how does their lineup come out? I think that they have some lineup question marks at this point. And I think we're going to both give our kind of projected lineup in a second here. But I think there are some clear changes that should be made for England, kind of going forward. And if these changes are made, some proper attacking changes, I think that England should win this game convincingly, in my opinion. I don't think Senegal, without Mane, have the attacking firepower to really give this England team a true test. I think that this English defense, even though on paper, you might say, oh, Harry Maguire, he can make some mistakes. For England, he seems to be a brick wall. And I think that he plays
defense, very good for England.
This English defense is going to be able to slam the door shut on the Senegalese attack without Sadio Mane. And I find it hard to believe it would be anything other than a convincing England win.
Yeah, I would have to agree. And especially after the Wales performance where, the Gareth Southgate actually looked like he showed something, finally choosing to start Phil Foden, and he played Marcus Rashford. And who would have thought? Who would have guessed? Phil Foden had a great game. Phil Foden put in an absolute masterclass along with Rashford. Rashford and Phil Foden played brilliantly. They played so well that it's brought up questions. Are they now undroppable? Do you not start them? Because it would baffle me more if at least Phil Foden doesn't get in the team. Like I think after that game, it's already proven that there's not a stratosphere, there's not a planet, there's in this galaxy where Sterling should be playing over Phil Foden. That's just not happening. Even if Sterling was 10 years younger, there's not a chance. This guy, this Phil Foden, I just love how this kid plays. He plays absolutely brilliantly. I love his style of football. I love his way of play. just how what he does for this England team is great. His finishing, his creativeness, it's just everything that they need, because that's what England seem to struggle on. Sometimes they need a bit of creativity that they're not creating the chances, and I think that's what this guy brings. I think that's what Phil Foden brings, and I like what they bring on with Rashford, because Rashford can play on that wing, but he can also slot in the middle. He can go. He can play striker, and that's something I think Saka can't really do, because sometimes Kane will drop back, but then Rashford can go and fill in that spot and take that number 9 role. Something Saka I don't think can do, even though Saka's playing very well for Arsenal. Look, that's probably the hardest thing leaving this game. Saka or Rashford? Who do you start right now? Rashford's on untouchable form right now. He's unplayable. Right now you have to play him. And when Rashford gets hot like this, this is something that, I wish we saw from him all the time, because it reminds me back when he broke out in 2017, this guy that who he was destined to be on top of the world, but just inconsistency. But when he's firing, when he's playing, Marcus Rashford's available. He's brilliant. I love watching him when he's on form. And it's going to be interesting what Gareth Southgate does, because this Senegal team, they're a tough team. They're a tough team to break down. They have they've gone it. They've won it on in the continent. They are continental champions, and I think they're going to be a tough team to break down. And I would say, if I were to put a score prediction on it, I think it would be a 2-0. Depending on if Gareth Southgate starts Phil Foden, I say 2-0. If he doesn't, then I see an ugly 1-0.
Yeah, for me, I can agree with that. It all comes down to what is this lineup going to look like, and I wanted to get a kind of a predicted lineup per se from both of us in a little bit, and just in a second here. But I can 100% agree. I think that if Gareth Southgate plays the correct players, I think that this is going to be a dominant England win. However, do I have 100% belief that Gareth Southgate will not just revert back to what we saw against the United States with the kind of a very similar lineup to that? I don't know. I think that Gareth Southgate kind of knew that the Wales game didn't mean much for them. They were going to win the group kind of regardless, and I think that's kind of why they rotated some players per se. But in my opinion, the guys that they rotated might have been better than some of the original starters. So that's what puts some big question marks for me. Like, what lineup are we really going to get from this English team? It's something that, at this point in the tournament, you probably like to have your clear-cut lineup, all dusted and on the chalkboard by now. But England, they don't quite have that. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see how this team plays out. I have my kind of predicted lineup, what I would like to see. I don't know if you. I'll go first if you want me to.
Yeah, you go first. Yeah, you go first.
So if I'm Gareth Southgate against Senegal, this is the lineup that I'm playing. I'm playing a 4-3-3 because I think, or a 4. Either way, whether they play a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, you use the same players. For my opinion, is just I don't know. So for me, goalkeeper Jordan Pickford, no doubt. Left back Luke Shaw. The 2 center backs Harry Maguire, John Stones. Right back Kyle Walker. Keep the same defense you've been playing. It's very strong. They do the job. Center mid Jude Bellingham. Center mid Declan Rice. They have been doing amazing this World Cup. And then get me Phil Foden in this midfield. Get me Phil Foden in this midfield. Do not put Mason Mount back in this team. Look, I love Mason Mount. I'm a Chelsea fan. I got the kid on right now. But Mason Mount, he's not on form right now. He's not doing what Phil Foden can do. And we just saw Phil Foden get one opportunity against Wales and immediately gets a goal. Mason Mount has been putting up disaster classes so far this World Cup. He's been putting up horror shows. He's been making the English fans cry. He's been making them boo.
He's just kind of not. Yeah, he's kind of not been there.
He's not been doing what he needs to do, and ultimately he seems to be one of those players that Gareth Southgate kind of favors, and that's why it's going to be interesting to see what they do. Because will he revert back to Mason Mount, or will he put the guy who's on proper good form, Phil Foden, in? I do not know. But if I'm Gareth Southgate, give me Phil Foden, and then this front three. This is where it gets interesting here. Give me Saka on the right, Rashford on the left, and then give me Harry Kane at striker. You were saying, who are you going to play, Saka or Rashford? Give me both. Get Raheem Sterling out of there. And give me
absolutely
Give me Saka, who's on amazing form for England and Arsenal right now. He scored 2 goals in the opener against Iran. And then give me Marcus Rashford, who right now is tied for the lead in Golden Boot with 3 goals. He's on amazing form. And then Harry Kane, the distributor that can do it all. He can score and he can also link up the play like a true number 9. He is so
I
good.
think he's finally starting to develop that where he's truly a very good 9 that he's able to drop back and link up
He's able to do
play.
it all.
And I think that's something we haven't really seen from Harry Kane that much because we've always known him as the goal scorer, as the leading marksman. But even when he can't get it going, that's why I like to see comparing to Lautaro Martinez that if you're not firing on goal scoring, then make up for it in something else, and that's what Harry Kane's doing for this team. But I'll let you continue.
No, 100%. And that's my lineup. That's what I would play. If I'm Garrett Southgate, that's the lineup that I'm bringing out here. And whether or not you play a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, they played a 4-3-3 against Wales, and the other 2 games they played 4-2-3-1. Either way, these players can play either way. Probably you would want Rashford a little bit higher up the pitch than being a left winger rather than a left mid, but he can play there. He's played there for Manchester United. He's done the job there before, and I think it's. If Harry Kane wasn't around, you probably play him at striker based on how he's been firing right now. But you're just not dropping Harry Kane, are you? He's the captain. You're just not dropping him.
Not.
So,
but absolutely not.
With that being said, you have to find a way to get Rashford into this team because of how good he's been playing. You just have to. And I said it coming into the World Cup. Get Raheem Sterling out of this starting 11. I don't care that he was your main talisman along with Harry Kane last World Cup. I don't care that he had a decent Euros. All I care about is current form and what's been going on right now. For Chelsea, he wasn't quite firing that good coming into the World Cup. And so far in the World Cup, what has he done? He hasn't really done anything. So you have to trust the guys who are actually firing right now. Saka, Rashford. Those should be the wingers. No doubt in my mind.
Absolutely. I would have to agree with that.
And I want to hear your starting 11 here.
Yeah. I was about to harp on that I think we almost agree on every single player. The only thing I would personally change, I think it's not something Southgate would do. I would start a 4-4-2. So I would stick with Pickford in goal, Maguire and Stones, Kyle Walker, and Shaw. Keep the defense right. Then in those 2 midfield spots, you have Jude Bellingham and Declan Rice because those guys are young enough to keep that midfield. They could run a 2-man midfield because I think they both have the engines and they both have the box-to-box capability to do that. And on the right mid and left mid, on the right, I would take Saka. On the left, that's where I'd put in Phil Foden. I put Phil Foden in there as a bit of a free roam. Let him, go in between the midfield and attack. Have him that free range. And then the 2 strikers, I would have the pairing of Harry Kane and Marcus Rashford, just because I think Marcus Rashford is a better striker than he is a winger. And the way that I would picture this team up is that Harry Kane would sit back a bit more and let Marcus Rashford be right there on the last defender. Let Harry Kane get the ball. Let him try and feed Marcus Rashford, or if not, let him feed it to Phil Foden. Let him switch it to Saka. Having that more of a two punch striker duo, I think would work a lot better, especially with Rashford being on form right now. And I think it opens up, but unfortunately, like hearing these lineups, like creating this lineup, I literally think both of the lineups we said, those teams win the World Cup. Even against like Argentina or even against France, if they play this lineup, and we know how good these players can play, how gifted they are, how great they are individually, that's those teams easily can win the World Cup, easily without a doubt. But I just know that's not what we're gonna get. It's not what's gonna happen. He's probably going to play, Gareth Southgate's going to play a 4-3-3. And if I were to guess, he's probably, going to play Sterling. He's going to play Sterling. He's going to play Saka. Because
he's going to play Mason Mount.
He's going to play Mason Mount. If I were to put myself in the brain of a very boring man, he's probably looking at this as our last game was against Wales. It didn't really matter. Now we're going to a serious, round of 16. Time to put in the veteran Sterling, who's been here and done that. Saka, who he just likes more. Mason Mount, who he just likes more. I think that's what he's gonna do. And it's going to be of the detriment of England, and hopefully, I don't even know if I want England to get by. I mean, if they play this lineup, I kind of hope they lose just so we can finally, stop letting Southgate get by with mediocrity. I'm tired of it, man. I'm tired of him just getting by, playing these shitty tactics and playing these, not the correct 11s that, a normal person would, you give anybody that actually watch. Does Gareth Southgate watch the Premier League? I really question if he watches the Premier League at this point, just because just even the fact that Madison can't sniff this team, like James Madison is when you talk about creativity, he's such a creative player.
He is.
And every time I watch this England team, that's where they struggle. They struggle in creativeness. Look, I was surprised Trent actually got to play. Like I had to like check. I had to check outside, I had to walk outside a little bit and see if the sky was falling. I couldn't believe Trent was getting minutes played, and it was nice to see Kyle Walker's back and fit. Hopefully, he can get back to 100%. But this England team, like we said, going into the tournament, they have just I feel like a broken record talking about it, that they just have more than enough talent to win this World Cup. It's their golden generation. This is the best shot they have. And, it hurts my soul to know that that it's possibly is going to get wasted.
Yeah, we talked about that before, like this golden generation of English talent potentially being wasted again, similar to the previous one with David Beckham and Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard. But the fact that this generation is getting wasted because they prefer Gareth Southgate to manage this team rather than anybody else, it's appalling to me, and I would be shocked. Not even just shocked. I would have to go outside and see if the sun is imploding, if Earth is about to blow up, if he plays Phil Foden, if he plays Marcus Rashford, if he plays these guys who I think he should play, I won't believe it. But
I'm gonna grab the lottery.
I just know, like you said, we're gonna end
It's
up
not
getting.
happening.
We're gonna get pretty much the lineup that England played against the United States, even though they played terrible that game. I just know it's pretty much going to be that lineup with Kyle Walker in there instead of Trippier because he's actually healthy now. It's pretty much going to be the same lineup as the United States game, just with Kyle Walker. And I would be shocked if it isn't, even though, I said what I would play, and I would love to see this lineup. I think whether or not you play,
your lineup was like your lineup was actually very attacking. And as soon as I heard Phil Foden in the midfield, I was like, no shot. No shot. No shot in hell.
There's no shot.
There's shot in hell. But you got a better chance of winning the fucking Powerball, bro.
In my opinion, given the fact that you have Declan Rice and Jude Bellingham in the midfield, I think you can get away with playing Phil Foden in the midfield. I think you can get away with it. But you just know, you just know that Gareth Southgate isn't doing that. He wants to play more defensive football for God knows why. I don't know. But that's what he wants to do.
Because how that three-man midfield would work, you have Declan Rice as the guy that sits back, Jude Bellingham as the box-to-box, and then you have the attacking flair, the guy that, is more involved in the attack, who can connect it. It makes sense. It's just, when you're drawing up what you want on the midfield, that's how you picture it. Those three roles, that's how usually all-time great midfield work. But I don't know. Maybe Mason Mount is like the second coming of David Beckham or some shit. Maybe I just don't know. Maybe I need a new TV or something. I need glasses, contacts, laser eye surgery. Maybe I'm missing something.
Maybe Mason Mount is doing some stuff in training that we don't see that he's like, oh my god, I gotta get.
They gotta release the footage. Is this guy like just doing like some madness, or they're looking like Ronaldinho or something? Like, what is he doing in the training camp that's making him like he's undroppable?
He must be doing some Ronaldinho skills mixed with Ronaldo bicycle kicks and all of that.
Ronaldo finishes.
He's looking like the best English midfielder that there's ever been. That's the only thing I could imagine, because that the way that Gareth Southgate puts this guy, I think he's the first name he puts on the team sheet. When he's making starting 11, it's Mason Mount first, and then everybody else.
Mason Mount's in it. Because I don't get I've been trying to sit here for like the past like 10, 15 minutes that we've been talking about this. What exactly does Mason Mount do that's better than Phil Foden?
Like, this is
Well,
me. This is me as a Chelsea fan. Like Mason Mount hasn't been on great form this season in general. So like if you're just looking based on what's been going on in the Premier League coming into the World Cup, Mason Mount has not had a good year so far. And in terms of just player versus player, who's playing better, it's obviously Phil Foden. But then skill set, who has a better overall skill set based on what we've seen throughout their careers? Phil Foden, he wipes the floor with Mason Mount. He just
because
does.
I can't even see it to the point of like maybe you could say, oh, Mason Mount drops back more. Does he? I mean,
Does he?
I,
I don't think so.
because like the only thing I could think of, like people say, oh, like Phil Foden's too attacking to play midfield. I mean, then what's Mason Mount? Mason Mount doesn't even attack that well, and he doesn't
Mason Mount
defend that
isn't
well.
offering you that
What
much
does he do
defensively, if
exactly?
anything. That's what I'm saying. That's my thing. He's not offering you that much defensively, but then his forte.
Is he dropping
Okay,
back more? I don't
like
get it.
like Mason Mount, he's hanging his hat on the offensive side of the ball, on picking the right passes, playing good passes to Harry Kane, and also potentially scoring goals. He's not scoring goals. He's not picking the right passes. He's losing the ball in midfield. Like, I don't understand how you can see the success Phil Foden had, even though it was on the wing against Wales, and then look at Mason Mount and say, "Yep, I'm going back to you." What has he done to deserve this? What has he done?
I just don't get it. I just don't get it. It's
Like the only
it's
thing I can think of is that
yeah.
given the fact that Phil Foden for Manchester City does play on the wing a lot, not quite in the central. That's the only thing I can think of. Maybe Southgate is
Yeah, like
thinking
maybe he has some.
there's only so many spots you can play. There's only so many winger spots. Like there's only 2 wingers, and there's so many good wingers on this team. You're looking at potentially Rashford playing on the wing. You're looking at Foden potentially playing on the wing. Sterling,
Yeah.
Saka. There's so many guys who could play only 2 positions, and he's thinking, look, Phil Foden, he's not always in the midfield, but he when he started from Manchester City, he was a center attacking mid. He was a midfielder, a proper
I think that's
central.
really what he plays the best, but
I think so as
he's
well.
just that.
I think he's forced to
he's
play
just
out
that
wide for
guy.
Manchester City because of the depth of Man City. But
Yeah, like you have
if
Kevin
Man
De
City
Bruyne.
wasn't
I
as
mean,
good as
he's
they
not better than
were,
Kevin De Bruyne.
no, exactly. But if
Yeah,
Kevin De Bruyne wasn't there, Phil Foden would take a spot.
Yeah, absolutely.
But for some reason, Gareth Southgate doesn't think that this guy can play centrally or something. I don't know. I think everyone with a brain can know that. Look, for a central midfielder, give me Phil Foden. For a central attacking midfielder, give me Phil Foden. But Gareth Southgate thinks otherwise. And I'm wearing the Chelsea shirt. The Chelsea fans might be mad at me for saying this, but Mason Mount is not good. He's not that good, especially this season. Mason Mount has had his flashes. He's a good player, but based on current form,
He's a solid player.
Not,
he's decent. He's decent.
He's a very solid player, but he's just not quite on good form at the moment, and just the whole season. There's no reason.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not saying you never bring him on again. You put him into the bench with Trent, and you never bring him on. No, you can sub him on. He offers something, but there's no reason he should be starting in such a critical, crucial round of 16 match.
Yeah, because just on the simple fact that it's not disrespectful to back maybe a couple seasons ago. This was a conversation because they were both young. They both basically came up together, but we've seen the separation. Phil Foden has taken that next step, and Mason Mount hasn't. And not to say Mason Mount's a horrible player, but he isn't of the upper echelon. He's a very good player. I'll probably hold him up there, maybe with a Declan Rice. Just Declan Rice has a role in this team, and Declan Rice does that role. But Mason Mount doesn't necessarily have a true role in this team. So that's why it's not really working. And when Phil Foden, well, obviously we re-rate Phil Foden very highly. So when you're comparing like a guy that I think is the 3rd best player on this whole England squad, arguably on his day, he's top 2. And obviously Mason Mount is nowhere near that for me. So I mean, it was going to come off of like, somewhat disrespectful, but I mean, it's just the level of Phil Foden of how good this guy is, but not to say Mount's horrible. I just don't think there's not a walk of life that Mason Mount does anything better than Phil Foden. It's just at this moment, nothing has shown me that yeah, Mason Mount does this better than Phil Foden.
100%. It's not a total knock on Mason Mount by any stretch of the imagination. It just goes to show that the depth of this England team and how solid it is, and why they should be a World Cup contender, because they are loaded in pretty much every position. And the fact that you can have this debate between Mason Mount and Phil Foden, a lot of national teams would love to be able to have this debate. Who you should be playing, who should be on the bench. Look, Mason Mount starts for pretty much almost, for a lot of national teams. I'm not going to say every single national team, but, he's not getting into the Brazil side. He's not getting into France or whatever. I mean, to be fair, he's probably better than Griezmann right now. So maybe he does get into France.
He could. I mean, right now he could get in the Brazil team. I mean, I'd play him over Fred. They started Fred the other game, man. I mean, I'd play him over Fred. I mean, I don't think that's a crazy thing to say.
But that's a debate for another time.
But yeah, that's the consensus of
the point is that so many national teams would love to have a Mason Mount, and the fact that England are blessed to have Phil Foden and Mason Mount, it's not a knock on Mason Mount. It's just Phil Foden is the better player on better form, and he's more clinical in front of goal. He's able to play the killer passes. He can do everything that Mason Mount can do, but better. So there's no reason he should be on the bench.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've sat here talking about Mason Mount
for
10 minutes. No. We've talked. My point where I was going with that, we've talked about these two guys for 10 minutes, pretty much saying why Phil Foden is better. But come Sunday, I think when they play, we know how it's gonna be.
Yeah, we know what's gonna happen.
Mason Mount is gonna be in that starting 11.
It doesn't hurt the dream. It doesn't hurt the dream.
Look, we could be wrong, and we if Phil Foden is in the starting 11, it's going to be a convincing England win, I would say, because Gareth Southgate has turned a corner. He wants to win, but we will have to see. It's going to be very interesting.
Southgate's decided that he wants to win, so he plays Phil Foden.
The full knockout stage predictions for us will be coming out Friday at some point, whenever the full bracket is finished. We're going to have another episode coming out once the full bracket is finished, so that we can get that out. So we'll be touching back on these games before they happen, but I think that's it.
We'll see which ones we got wrong, which ones we got right.
Yeah, especially we did our
got a couple of things wrong. Yeah,
we did our pre-World Cup prediction, but it'll be good to get our just our knockout stage prediction, and we'll get that bracket going and see what changes for us, who we have going and how far, and all, things of that nature. It'll be good to touch on that. It'll be coming on Friday, I think. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that wraps it up for football.
Exactly.
This football. Now time to switch it to American football.
Yes.
The other football, which when I sat down and thought about the name, it kind of doesn't make sense for the sport, because I mean, your foot doesn't really touch the ball that much in American football. Like how many times is actually 3 times, maybe 4 times a game?
When the kicker got it,
when the kicker when he punts it kind. Dude, I read that somewhere. I was like, that's a fair point. The name kind of doesn't make sense, but that's besides the point.
That is, yeah. That's what the British will say. If they're still watching, the British would say that. It doesn't make sense. The name, it's football.
The sense doesn't make sense. Yeah, come on, man.
But we had some good games that were played last week, but we want to look forward to this week of the NFL season. Week 13 it is now. We are getting so close to the playoff time, and these are the games that are pretty much do or die at this point for a lot of teams. It's deciding not only who's going to make the playoffs, it's going to decide who's going to be seeded where, who's going to be the number 1 seed, who's going to be be able to get a first round bye, who's going to be able to cement themselves as a division winner. These games are so crucial at this point in the season, and I think it's time to get into our Week 13 predictions.
Absolutely.
So, Week 13, NFL Pick'em. Let's go. Bills versus Pats. Give me the Bills.
I got the Bills.
Packers versus Bears. Give me the Packers.
Give me the Packers.
Steelers versus Falcons. Give me the Falcons.
I'll take the Steelers.
Jets versus Vikings. I got the Vikings.
I got the Jets.
Of course you do. Jags versus Lions. Give me the Jags.
Got the Jags.
Titans versus Eagles. I got the Eagles.
I got the Titans.
Browns versus Texans. I got the Browns.
I got the Browns.
Commanders versus Giants. I got the Commanders.
I got the Commanders.
Broncos versus Ravens. I got the Ravens.
I got the Ravens.
Dolphins versus 49ers. Give me the Miami Dolphins.
I got the Dolphins.
Seahawks versus Rams. Give me the Seahawks.
Yeah, the Seahawks.
Chargers versus Raiders. I got the Chargers.
I got the Chargers.
Chiefs versus Bengals. AFC Championship game rematch. Give me the Chiefs.
Give me the Bengals.
Colts versus Cowboys.
the
I got the
Bengals.
Dallas Cowboys.
Cowboys.
Saints versus Bucks. Got to go with the Bucks.
Go with the Bucks.
Look, I never know necessarily what you're gonna pick, but I'm a little bit shocked. I must say, I'm a little bit shocked. There were a lot of games there
good pick.
that I was tossed up because this week of games, I will say, compared to last week especially, but just you don't need a comparison. These games this week are looking fantastic. We got Thursday night football tomorrow.
They look really
today,
good,
as
yeah.
we're recording. Bills versus Patriots. That's going to be a fantastic game. You got Titans, Eagles, two really good teams going at it. You got Dolphins, 49ers. You got Browns. Look, I'm going to be watching the Browns and the Texans play because it's Deshaun Watson's first game back. I got to see how that
Deshaun's
goes.
back.
You got Chiefs, Bengals. That's going to be a great game. And I mean, there's just so many good. You got Jets, Vikings. There's so many high quality
Dolphins,
games.
49ers. Look, if I had to choose one game that I want to watch the most, I want to watch Dolphins 49ers so bad.
And
just
that's
because
why
I think
what I was going to say. That's why, we're going to talk about this game in more in depth.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think the first one we disagreed on, I mean, besides Steelers, Falcons, I think that was just a 50-50 somewhat game. I think it can go whatever. Jets, Vikings, I think, obviously, I'm picking the Vikings. I'm betting on my boy Elijah Moore. We saw a resurgence. Yeah, the Jets. Did I say the Falcons? Fuck me.
You said you were picking
I mean the Jets. Did I? Oh, my God. Okay, no. Obviously, I'm talking about the Jets. I picked the Jets to win that because I saw my boy Elijah finally emerge. He's back. Number 8, you got take Zach Wilson, sit him on the bench, send him home. He's done. And anybody with the name Zach, cursed. Don't want to see him ever. So
harsh.
I got I think it's fair. See, number 8's back. Got to feed him, and I think they're going to be just enough. I think Sauce has got something. Sauce got something for JJ. He's got something for him.
Does he, bro? Does he?
That's a matchup I'm gonna want to see. He's got something.
I do want to see that matchup as well, but I look, that's gonna be a very interesting matchup because Sauce has pretty much done very well guarding every receiver in the league, and not just rookies or not just the second receivers. He's pretty much been guarding every team's main receiver, and Justin Jefferson is going to be obviously the Vikings' main receiver. He's going to have to guard, and not many corners are able to do so. Pretty much 0 corners in the league are very good at guarding Justin Jefferson. You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting to see how that matchup goes.
I think this is going to be, not to be like crazy or nothing, but these are two guys we're going to be seeing going at each other for a very long time. I mean, Sauce Gardner's rookie, and Justin Jefferson, this is only his 3rd season in the league. We're going to see this matchup a lot, and I'm glad to see it. I think we're lacking a true grudge, and I hope these guys can keep somewhat of a rivalry because I like seeing the best go against the best, and I think that's what we're gonna get.
100%, I can agree with that. But coming off of a big Thanksgiving Day win against the Patriots, and being able to score the amount of points they were against a Bill Belichick led defense, I think that's gonna bode well for the Minnesota Vikings, and I think that. I got to go with my my dark horse MVP contender that I said at the beginning of the season. I got to ride with my boy Kirk Cousins. Ride with Kirk Cousins. And I think that he's going to, have a good game against this Jets defense. And, he's going to be a close game. but give me the Vikings by a field goal.
Okay, I mean, it's fair. Gotta somewhat respect that. But the next game we disagreed on, I think we agreed on the Jags. I think Titans and Eagles. I think that one's gonna be a very close game, a very, very close game. And
You know,
the only point where I edge it out for the Titans is just that I don't trust, the Eagles rush defense. I think they're gonna have basically everything. They're gonna have to pack a lunch for Derrick Henry. They're gonna have to, they're gonna have to put a couple bricks in their back pocket, man. Like this guy is going to be running it down their throats because that's what the Titans do. I mean, they can run the football, and that's the only thing I thought the Eagles. We saw them get somewhat exposed for that. They can't stop the run, but I got the Titans winning a very close game. I think it's going to be by a field goal.
I wanted to pick the Titans in this game so bad because I think it's going to be an extremely close game. We know how good this Titans defense is, and we know that they're going to play that old school smash mouth football, run it down your throat until you don't like it anymore. Derrick Henry is going to have a great game. I can imagine. I think it's going to be a very, very close game. But the reason why I'm going to edge with the Eagles here is because they seem to have to, look, their rushing attack, well, you can say that their rush defense isn't the best, but it seems as if their rushing attack, now it's like the 1-2 punch of Miles Sanders and Jalen Hurts. They absolutely thrashed the Green Bay Packers. And the Titans are a significantly better defense than the Green Bay Packers. But I think they're going to be able to run the ball effectively. Maybe not quite as effective as the Titans are, but I trust Jalen Hurts as a passer more than I do Ryan Tannehill. And this is a revenge game for A.J. Brown coming back, playing against his former team, the Titans. I think that he is primed to have a good game. And the way he's been talking smack on social media about the Titans all season, he has to have a good game. If he doesn't have a good game, it's not going to be looking good for him because he's been absolutely trash talking the Titans all season, saying that they're missing him, they need him, blah, blah, blah. Well, this is your chance to back it up. And I have a sneaky feeling that he's going to have one of those dominant games where we're looking at 100 yards, receiving 2 touchdowns type of thing. And I don't know if the Titans are going to be able to score enough to keep up with this Eagles offense. I just don't know if they're going to be able to score enough points. That's why I have to lean to the Eagles here. I think it's going to be a very close game, but give me the Eagles 27-24.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we talked about this almost. I'm sure we've covered this before. The Eagles are, they're rushing. It's that's what got them to this point. How they can run the football. They run the football spectacularly. And that gives them, especially when you have a guy like A.J. Brown who's playing absolutely great for the Eagles. When you have that run defense, it gives A.J. Brown a bit more looks, and he can go off for these crazy games. But I think the way to beat the Eagles is, beating them at what they're good at, running the football. And I think the Titans can have that little edge with Derrick Henry. I think they're going to be able to edge this out.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be close. I mean, I'm excited to watch that game because one of the main harps on the Eagles so far is that they haven't played tough games. They haven't played those, games against quality opponents. Well, there's no doubt that the Tennessee Titans are a quality opponent that is playoff bound for sure. And they're going to do things in the playoffs. I don't know how far they're going, but they're going to be someone you don't want to play in the playoffs type of thing. They play smash mouth football. And I think based on what happens in this game, it's going to tell a lot for both teams. If the Titans are able to win this game, and it's time to start talking about them potentially as a more of a threat in the AFC than we're taking them now. And if the Eagles are able to really get a win here, it kind of proves themselves in a way that, okay, this team can do something in the playoffs. They are able to do it against really good teams. They would have beaten the Titans, and they beat the Vikings earlier in the season as well. That's 2 good teams. So we can't really say that the Eagles don't beat good teams and they can't get it done against the best of the best. They're able to do this. They're able to stop Derrick Henry. I think that it shows a lot about the character of this Eagles team. And are they going to magically go to the top of my rankings in terms of NFC contenders for the Super Bowl? Not quite, but they're going to be closer to my top than they were, at least right now, because right now I think it's the the 49ers and the Cowboys kind of as the teams I believe in the most. But if the Eagles are able to get a win here, the Eagles might be sneaking up there. And I'm thinking, okay, I wasn't taking this team serious enough.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the races between those three teams. I mean, I don't mind wherever anybody ranks them. Eagles, Cowboys, or 49ers. I think those are the three teams they're there.
Yeah,
Those are the guys that we're
I could agree.
expecting to one of those guys to get out. But whatever order you want to put them in, I don't really mind. We're gonna see how it all turns out. Very not too long.
Yeah, 100%.
But the next game, other than that, maybe to touch upon Browns Texans, going to be fun to see Deshaun Watson back against his old team. It's going to be it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I think he's going to play well. Hopefully, we might see a little bit of rust get knocked off, but I think they'll do enough to win. The Browns have been pretty decent without him. They haven't been horrible.
Yeah.
And then we got Broncos Ravens. I mean, the only thing I talk about that. No one showed up to my boy, Danger Witch. They didn't show up to my boy's birthday, bro. Half the team showed up to my dude's birthday. What is this, bro? And this is something I wanted to even kind of go a little bit off. Like at this point, Russell Wilson has almost completely lost the locker room. What do you do with Russell Wilson? If you were the Broncos front office, what do you even do with him? Because is it salvageable? Because just I can't really see where Russell Wilson can win this locker room back just because of how he carries himself, how he gives off this arrogance that he's bigger than the team, that he has his own office in the stadium. Like this is a guy that seems to put a gap between him and his teammates to where that he's not a teammate, he's a executive, he's a coach, he's a sophisticated mind that's not like the other players. But where do you go from here? That it's getting to the point to where he's lost. There's been insiders say he's lost at least already half the locker room. What do you do?
Well, I think the Broncos are in a really bad spot because they've given away their whole future to get this guy. They've given away draft picks. They've given away pretty much everything to get this guy, and they thought he was going to be the guy to lead them forward. I mean, quite frankly, I did as well. Nobody expected him to be this bad.
And I did as well.
It's one of those things, like nobody expected this, but now that you're here and you're in this situation, I saw something that they realistically don't have a chance to get out of this contract until 2026 because of the way that it's structured, and pretty much like no one's going to trade for him, and you can't cut him because you're still going to be paying him all of this money, and you can't. There's no benefit to cutting him. Realistically, they don't have a chance to get out of this contract until 2026. So it's going to be you're kind of stuck, in my opinion, with this contract. You don't really have much you can do. It's one of those things. I think you have to change the coach. I think you have to try everything to change something, but you can't get rid of Russ just because of how, you've already committed all this money and the way that you structured the contract. You can't really get out of it. You have to find a way to try to make this work. And I don't care what you do, but the first thing, unfortunately for Nathaniel Hackett, it's going to be, you're going to have to get rid of him, and you're going to have to, even though he hasn't been playing like, the old Russ, you're going to have to continue to try to put pieces around him that can make him better.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate to a certain extent because, you like myself included, I expected the Broncos to be a playoff team as currently constructed this season. They are obviously far from that. And are free agents even going to want to come play for this Broncos team? Based on what we've been seeing, I don't know.
I wouldn't.
But they're going to have to do something, and they're going to have to try to find a way. And they're going to, in my opinion, that it starts first thing. You change the coach, you try to get some free agents, and then you look forward next season. You try to find a way to get Russ to be more comfortable and turn it into the old Russ. But in my opinion, the Broncos are just pretty much screwed. They're pretty much they've locked themselves into a corner, and there's nothing they can do. And it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you on all that. They're stuck with Russ, and they just gotta cross their fingers and hope it gets better.
I saw this question being posed today, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it. Obviously, with no stats or anything like that, but just off the cuff. there was talks about potentially, based on how bad this season has been going for Russell Wilson, that he has played himself out of the Hall of Fame. You know, everyone thought this guy Russell Wilson was a surefire first ballot, maybe not first ballot, but he was going to be a Hall of Famer. But there's
Mhm.
reports now that he might not even be making the Hall of Fame, you know, when his career is all said and done, based on what his career is looking like, the direction that it's going, and how bad it's going to be. But basically, my point is, has Russell Wilson, and will he continue to play himself out of the Hall of Fame? What do you think about that?
It's tough to say. I think it's a bit too early to really have that conversation. It's the same thing that, speaking of of Russell Westbrook, like this is probably the same thing I had with him. How bad he's played. Is he not a Hall of Famer? Is he a Hall of Famer? I think for what he did in Seattle, Legion of Boom, I think it depends. I think the thing I could probably compare it to is like maybe a bit of Eli Manning. If you think Eli Manning's a Hall of Famer, then you probably would have to say Russ is a Hall of Famer. But I wouldn't jump to say that yet, just because it is one season. This is his first true full season that we're starting to see that this humongous drop off. But I don't think the NFL Hall of Fame is pretty difficult. It's probably the most difficult Hall of Fame to get into. But I don't know. It's tough to say right now. At this moment, I would say no. But another season from now, we could be having a different conversation.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, to be honest. And the perfect comparison for me, and this is what they said on the show where I kind of got this question from, was Eli Manning. If you think Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer, you're going to think that Russell Wilson is still going to be a Hall of Famer. And I think Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer. You know, outside of the
I think
two
it's
Super Bowl
debatable.
runs, outside of the two Super Bowl runs that Eli Manning had, his stats weren't the best. He wasn't the best quarterback in the world. But based on what he did to win those two Super Bowls, you got to have him in the Hall of Fame. He beat the undefeated
I,
Patriots team. I think you got to have him in the Hall of Fame.
yeah, yeah, but it's tough to say. I mean, speaking of Eli Manning, was Eli Manning ever the best quarterback in the league? Was he ever the best quarterback in the league?
No,
No. It's
but
to
neither
me
was
that's
Russell
hard
Wilson.
to. I feel like Russell Wilson was a little bit more of a debate. There's certain points where it was a bit of a debate. I think there was never really a debate. Is Eli Manning the best quarterback in the league? Was he, good? I mean, he's led the league so many times in interceptions, Eli Manning. But I think it's close. I'm not gonna throw my hands up and start rioting and be like,
No.
about either or, that he's a Hall of Famer, he's not a Hall of Famer. It's somewhat close. It's a conversation to have. But with Russ, I think Russ is better than Eli. So I would say, yeah, if you have Eli in the Hall of Fame, Russ has to be in the Hall of Fame, even if he turns into like Zach Wilson or something. Speaking of the Wilsons, man, like Jesus, what's going on? It's just cursed. But
Yeah.
yeah, what? Well,
Yeah,
I'll
I
pass
would
back to you.
say, I would say like Russell Wilson, with what he was able to do for Seattle. Let's not forget how good those Seattle Seahawks teams were. You know what I mean?
The
They
Legion
should have
of
had
Boom.
they should have had another Super Bowl ring. But this is also something that can be used against Russell Wilson. The most memorable moment of Russell Wilson's career is throwing a game-losing interception in the Super Bowl. That's the most memorable moment of his career.
I think that's a play calling mistake, though. But
I think it was as well, but you can't go back and change the play calling. The most memorable moment of Russell Wilson's career was an interception. I think that's never going to bode well, especially given the fact that you look at how loaded those Seahawks teams were. The fact that they were only able to get the one championship. You got the championship, and you got to tip your cap, because it's not easy to win a Super Bowl in this league. We have seen many great teams not even win a Super Bowl, but you should have got more. But with that being said, I think the level that Russell Wilson was able to play at for a long time with the Seahawks team, I think he has, cemented himself. Before this season, it wasn't even a conversation. Russell Wilson was going to be a Hall of Famer. I think it's unfair to Russell Wilson just now, based on having one bad season with a brand new team in a new city, new everything. He's having one bad season, and now we're saying he's not a Hall of Famer. I think it's a bit harsh in my opinion. Now, if Russ continues to play, let's just say he plays out the rest of his contract until 2026, which would be 3 more seasons, and the Broncos are this bad every single season, and Russ is continuing to be this bad, then okay, we can have this debate, because then at that point, was Russ a system quarterback? We're having a lot more conversations, about was Russ just overrated? Was
Yeah.
Pete Carroll a genius to get all of this out of him? Was he carried by Legion of Boom,
Pete
the
Carroll.
defense? You can have a lot of those more conversations, but I think you got to pump the brakes. If Russell Wilson retires today after this season, which obviously he's not doing, if he retires right now, he's going in the Hall of Fame. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree on that. Yeah. Oh, well, that probably ends our little harp on, the Russell Wilson debacle.
Yeah.
But moving into the next marquee game, and what I said, the game I'm most excited for, Dolphins 49ers. I want to get your first thoughts on it before I give my thought on it.
Well, for me, this is the game of the week. This is the game I'm circling. Even as a Dolphins fan, of course, I'm circling it. But even as a neutral, this is the game you have to watch. This is going to be this is football eye candy. This is like two supermodels going at it. This is genius. This is Mike McDaniel and Tua, and you got this Kyle Shanahan led offense, which has been lighting the league up right now. I think this is going to be a fantastic game. The 49ers are coming into this 4-point favorites, which I think is fair given the fact that they're at home, and if anyone is going to be able to stop this 49ers or this Dolphins offense, is going to be the 49ers. Mike McDaniel learned to be a head coach, and he learned his whole life from Kyle Shanahan. This is master versus apprentice. And, a lot of the times you got to lean towards the master. But, this Dolphins offense is looking so lethal. Tua is playing out of his mind. If anyone's going to stop this lethal offense, it's going to be this 49ers number 1 ranked defense in the NFL. They only give up 15.7 points per game. For me, this game comes down to the Dolphins offense versus the 49ers defense. Who is able to win this matchup? This is where this game is going to be decided, because ultimately the Dolphins, they might not have the best defense in the league by any stretch of the imagination. It's getting better, but it's not great. And the 49ers, they have a solid offense, but ultimately Jimmy G, he's been doing good, but he's not the best quarterback in the league by any stretch of the imagination. And this offense is getting better, but it's not the best offense in the league. So I think those kind of cancel out per se. Whoever is able to stop the other one in terms of the offense versus the defense, that's where this matchup is going to be decided. And I have to lean towards the Miami Dolphins. I think that Mike McDaniel, he's coming in with the right attitude. He said in the post-game or the pre-game press conferences that, he's looking at this just like any other game. He's not looking at this as like, I got to go out there and beat Kyle Shanahan because he's the one that taught me everything. He's not looking at it like that. This is just another game. It's just another Sunday. And this Dolphins offense has managed to score 30-plus points in 4 consecutive games. That is something that this Dolphins team has only done 4 times in their history. So this is not something that you see every day, and this is a lethal offense. And for me, I am always going to choose, this Dolphins offense against any defense, I think, right now in the league, any defense. And, this is the true test for me, because this is, even though some would argue the Cowboys have the best defense in the league, statistically speaking, it's the 49ers. So for me,
49ers and Cowboys, give or take.
Yeah, and I think it's 1A, 1B. Who's better? It's very close. But give me the Dolphins offense to be able to find a way to get this done. Because I trust Tua based on the way he's been playing. I think that he's going to be able to exploit the weaknesses in the defense, even if there are any. I think he's going to be able to find a way to get it done. And ultimately, I just don't think Jimmy G is going to make enough plays to keep this 49ers team in it. We have seen when the 49ers played a dynamic offense like the Kansas City Chiefs, they lost by 20 points. To be honest, by the time the fourth quarter came around, this game was over against the Chiefs. I think it's going to be very similar.
And the Chiefs aren't this, Chiefs aren't transcendent on the defensive end. They're a solid defensive team, but they're not the Cowboys. They're not the 49ers.
You can compare that to the Dolphins, I think, very much so, because they have a transcendent offense, but their defense is not bad, but it's not good. Pretty similar. And I don't think Tua is necessarily Patrick Mahomes necessarily in the way that Mahomes at the end of the day, he's the best quarterback in the NFL. But I think give me the Dolphins being able to get this win, probably not by the 20 points like the Chiefs, but probably by a touchdown or 10 points in my opinion.
Yeah. As much as I like to see you suffer and I like to see your teams lose, I gotta back the Miami Dolphins. Born in Hialeah, 305. I gotta back the Dolphins. Usually in every other sport, I'm always Miami. This football, I'm a little bit more of the Bucks. A little bit, maybe because of Tom Brady. But I just like what this Dolphins team is made out of. And I think this is be their biggest test of the year. And we're going to learn a lot from this game to see if they are legit or the pretenders. Because I think the 49ers are good enough to beat the Super Bowl. This could be, a Super Bowl matchup. And these guys could easily meet the Super Bowl. With the 49ers, they're how hot they are, they deserve to be favorites. But I'm going to trust in the fact that the Dolphins have the best receiver in the game, Tyreek Hill, and to also pair him up with Jalen Waddle. I think, and to have Tua playing like a top 5 quarterback. I trust, even going against this defense, that they're going to be able to figure out the score. And we're going to see something similar to what the Chiefs did. Not by 20, but like you said, I got them winning by 10. And, we're going to see Dolphins be pushed. And this is going to be, like I said, a huge test to see how legit are these Miami Dolphins. Because if they can beat this 49ers team that looked like they could fire, Jimmy G is looking like, like Peyton Manning. Like, he's looking good. And, if we can see the Dolphins do what they do, they're undefeated when Tua starts and finishes games. They're still undefeated with that stat. And Tua's been playing great. It's going to be, it's going to speak volumes about this Dolphins team.
I can 100% agree. This might be an early Super Bowl preview. It wouldn't be too far-fetched to say that. And this definitely is the biggest test that the Dolphins have had. I would say it's going to be because of the storylines. It's such a intriguing matchup. It's a huge test on paper, but then the fact that it's McDaniel comes from San Francisco. He learned learned from Shanahan. There's so much more that goes into this matchup, and they call the Dolphins the 49ers of the South. That's what they call them. They say that this is like the B-Tech 49ers to a certain extent because of the way they run the offense and all of that. I think that McDaniel in one season has turned this Dolphins franchise around. And this is the game that is going to prove whether or not the Dolphins are as good as I think they are, Super Bowl contenders, or are they just a playoff team? And after this game, we're going to have to visit this conversation again. And we're going to be saying, I already think it, but we're going to be 100% proven in saying it, that the Dolphins are Super Bowl contenders. They have a very, very good chance at coming out of the AFC. The Dolphins are undefeated when Tua starts and finishes a game, and I expect that to continue. There is no reason for me to believe that Tua can't find a way to beat this 49ers defense. It's great, but great offense is always able to find a way to beat great defense. If you're going to give the Dolphins enough chances to figure you out and make adjustments, give me Mike McDaniel. He's an offensive genius. He's going to find a way to get it done. I trust the running backs. I trust Tyreek Hill, like you said. I trust Jalen Waddle. I think the Dolphins have enough weapons that this 49ers defense, they're not going to be able to double team anyone. They're going to have to play man to man. And you can't play like that against the Dolphins for a full 48 minutes and expect, or a full 60 minutes. It's 60. It's because of 15-minute quarters. You can't play like that against the Dolphins for 60 minutes and expect to be able to hold them to 24 points or something like that. I find it hard to believe that this is going to be the case. I expect the Dolphins to score 30 plus in another consecutive game. I think it might be pushing a franchise record if they do it again. And that's what I expect to happen. I don't see the 49ers being able to stop this defense or stop this offense.
That's a thought, yeah. I would absolutely agree, and I think this plays a big role in Tua's MVP, MVP running, because if he gets a convincing win over the 49ers that are hot right now, I mean, you're talking about a team that's 4-point favorites over you. You get a convincing win over, he's right now duking and Patrick Mahomes for MVP. But this would definitely help. This would help his case out a lot. And the voters, they love a story. They
They
love
do.
a good story.
I
And
was
this would be,
yeah.
this would be nice little, another chapter to add to that, and
Yeah, no, I
it's gonna
100% agree,
it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be must watch. I can't wait to watch this. I can't wait.
It is gonna be it's the matchup of the weekend. There's so many good matchups this Sunday, but that is the one for me that it's gonna be one of those ones. I was surprised, that you picked the
And
Dolphins,
it's
though. Yeah,
yeah.
I expected you to pick the 49ers.
Yeah, as much as I'd like to see you suffer, but I got deep down, I gotta back my Miami teams. I gotta back them up. But it is kind of interesting to talk about. That is, we both picked that as a must see game of the week, and we have the Chiefs Bengals having a rematch of the AFC Championship game, which also disagreed on. And I wanted
Mhm.
to, I'll give you the floor again to give your opinions on this game.
You know, I think that this is gonna be a fantastic game, and once again, when I was over here trying to pick who I had winning this game, you could flip a coin. It's gonna be tough because the Bengals, they're playing really good football right now. They're playing their best football right now. And you could say the same about the Chiefs to a certain extent. So this is
Yeah,
two football teams at their peak going at it, and I just think, even though Joe Burrow is playing electric football right now, he's coming off of a big win against the Tennessee Titans. I trust Andy Reid. I trust Patrick Mahomes. And ultimately, I don't think the Bengals have an answer for Travis Kelce. I think that's where this game is going to kind of get turned on its head to a certain extent. I don't think the Bengals have an answer to stop the freight train that is Travis Kelce right now. And ultimately, they have a couple injuries. The Bengals, they might not have Joe Mixon, and he's questionable right now. As of right now, we don't know if he's going to play. If Joe Mixon plays, it definitely helps their chances. But if he doesn't, it's going to be tough to beat the Chiefs
absolutely.
without your number one rusher. It's going to be tough, and we don't
Mhm.
know if Jamar Chase is going to be back. He could be, could not be. It's all up in the air. I think all things considered like that, plus the fact the Chiefs, they've won 5 in a row, you know, I just think Mahomes is able to get it done. Once again, it's just so difficult to stop this Chiefs team right now. Mahomes is playing potentially his best football of his career. He's able to spread this football out to everybody. You look at Valdez Scantling, Juju. He's able to get the ball to
Valdez
so many different guys,
Scantling.
and he is playing such good football that I find it hard to believe that the Bengals will be able to stop this Chiefs team enough. Will they be able to get the defensive stops enough times to win this game? And I can't imagine a scenario in my head when they do. I just think I find it hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes right now based on how good he's playing, you know, and that's my main reasoning for picking the Chiefs here.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, I think it's going to be a very, very close game. But this game comes down to the fact that I can give you that this so far this season, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league over the whole duration. But if we're talking about one game, one individual game, give me Joseph Lee Burrow. I love Joe Stacey in these moments because this is what this game is. It's going to be, it's going to be advertised as the rematch of the AFC Championship game. And I think Joe Burrow is going to take this game and he's going to take it over. He's gonna take this a lot. I feel like he's gonna take this a lot more seriously than what the Chiefs would take it, because Chiefs are on a bit of a win streak, and I think they're due a loss. I think it's just how I see things when I see teams with long win streaks. When it starts to get to the point to where Chiefs are on a 5-game win streak, I think they're due a loss, and the team to do it, I believe, is the Bengals. And I think Joe Burrow, even with some of the Mixon or Jamar Chase, they were able to beat the Titans without Jamar Chase, and I think they're going to be able to squeeze this one out. Is it going to be a very pretty game? I don't know, but I think they're going to do just enough to not completely. No one's going to stop Kelsey. I mean, there's just like there's nothing you really do to stop. Kelsey's going to get Kelsey's going to get what he wants, but it's just about is everybody else going to be on the same wavelength? And I think they're just due a loss. So I'm going to go, if I'm picking somewhat of an upset, I'm going with the Bengals.
Yeah, no, like obviously we saw in the AFC Championship game, the Bengals were able to get the better of the Kansas City Chiefs, to much people's surprise, my surprise, I would say. I don't think we expected it at the time. I think, to a certain extent, you're never going to be able to get revenge per se because it's a regular season game versus the AFC Championship game. It's not quite getting your revenge, but I think that the Chiefs, they want to, in a way, get their revenge and take it out, because, Patrick Mahomes has a bad taste in his mouth about playing the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, Travis Kelce, he's got a bit of a bad taste in his mouth. And, when you've got guys like Travis Kelce, when you got guys like Patrick Mahomes and then Andy Reid being the coach, they've probably circled this game and said, we want to come out and we want to smack this team against the ground. We want to pummel them. And I think that's kind of what we're going to see. I think that the Chiefs have had this one circled, and I think they're not overlooking it, to a certain extent, like you might have hinted at. I think that they want this game bad. And if they do lose this game, it's going to be, time to just say, do the Bengals have the Chiefs number? They have their number.
I wouldn't go as far to say that, but I just think in this instant we're looking at just a regular season game. Chiefs already look like they're asserting themselves as the best team in the AFC, but I think in just a one-off game, just regular season, I think the Bengals are going to be looking at this a bit differently, because
yeah, and this game is also important for both teams in terms of the playoffs. The Bengals are trying to keep pace with the Ravens and win their division. They're both on the same record right now. And for the Chiefs, they're trying to stay one game ahead of both the Dolphins and the Bills in terms of keeping the number one seed in the AFC. Getting the number one seed is so vital because it not only clinches you home field throughout the whole playoffs, but it gives you that first round bye. And that first round bye is crucial. And, ever since they've switched the playoff format to get rid of two teams having the first round bye, it becomes so much more important to get the number one seed. And, based on, how it's all kind of played out, the Chiefs, they've given themselves that lead, to have a one game lead over both the Dolphins and the Bills to get the number one seed. But, they fall, they have to keep pace is basically the point that I'm getting at here. They cannot afford to lose a game if they want to truly get this number one seed. They have to pretty much continue to win and win and win because, we both picked the Dolphins this week. We both picked the Bills this week. We're both expecting them to continue on and forge ahead. The Chiefs are also going to have to do the same if they want to get the number one seed. And it's so important for the Chiefs to be at home in the playoffs because Arrowhead is such a difficult stadium to play in.
Yeah.
Not many teams are able to come to Arrowhead and get a win. Obviously, we just saw the Bengals do it last season, which was remarkable. But if you're betting money, you're not betting money on a team coming into Arrowhead and being able to get it done like that. It's just not easy to do. It's one of the most difficult stadiums in the league to play in. So for the Chiefs, they have to continue to take every game extremely seriously, like it's must win. Because you've got red hot teams like the Dolphins that are on your tail. As soon as you slip up, if the Chiefs lose, now they're on the same record with the Dolphins, and the Dolphins might have the tiebreaker that puts them in the number one seed. And I'm sure the Dolphins would love to have that number one seed, home field advantage.
Dude, but weirdly enough, I looked it up. This came up super a little off topic. Just how the stadium is built in Miami is literally like to the detriment of away teams of how like they have it. Yeah, how they have it built to where they have like the glare of the sun always pointing at like the sideline to the away team. I think the last even like a couple games ago was the
Yeah.
away team was like 100 and I believe 110 degrees, 105. While
Yeah.
the Dolphins was 83. It's because how they designed the stadium. I was like, oh my! I when I saw it, I never realized that. I was like, holy
Yeah.
shit,
It's
that's
like a
crazy.
it's like a legal way of giving
It's a
yourself a real home
yeah,
field advantage.
yeah. They're like legalizing true home field advantage, and I thought that was crazy.
And
But
it's one of those things that particular home field advantage might not quite have the first of all, we haven't had meaningful games in January for the Miami Dolphins in years. So we've never quite seen that into effect, but I don't know how hot it is like compared to when the NFL season first starts. It's I know for a fact it's not going to be as hot in January as it is in like what September or whatever. But
yeah,
regardless of that, it's still somewhat hot and it still gives them that advantage. The point is the Dolphins would love to have home field advantage in Buffalo if they're able to,
oh
win
god,
the AFC. They would love to have home field advantage, especially in the winter time. I mean,
not the snow.
nobody wants to go to Buffalo when it's snowing, and that's what might happen. So all three of these teams, whether it's the Dolphins, whether it's the Chiefs or the Bills, they all would all love to have home
Oh,
field
one
advantage.
sec. Oh shit! I spilled water on my computer, bro. Shit,
That's not good.
that is not good. Hold on. I think good thing we don't have too much to go left because I was like, there's no way. But okay.
But yeah, pretty much, I would just say that this is a very crucial game for both sides, and it's one of those things. It's going to be so close, and I find it hard to bet against Patrick Mahomes in games like this. But Joe Burrow proved me wrong last season, and he might do the same here today or Sunday.
No, yeah, Sunday.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I I wouldn't be surprised if it goes either way, but I got the Bengals in that one.
yeah,
But I think that almost wraps up everything we had written down. I believe if I'm not missing anything.
yeah. Well, yeah, we even got into a couple games that we didn't even have written down. So you got a little bit of
Yeah.
extra preview, in there.
Yeah, little bit, had to go down the Russell Wilson rabbit hole.
Yeah, and also the Jets. So
Yeah,
I
the
wasn't.
Jets.
That was completely off the cuff. Obviously, I can't wait to kind of watch these games and also, come on here and either way they go and talk about, what we saw. Obviously, we will be doing that along with what we talked about earlier in the episode, with all these World Cup knockout games coming soon. It's going to be exciting to see how those play out. So there's a lot of big things coming soon. Obviously, this episode was very much so a preview episode. We previewed a lot of knockout stage games and we previewed a lot of NFL games coming this Sunday. And it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. And personally, I just can't wait for the episodes coming next. And I think we're going to have another episode where we do our full knockout stage predictions and talk about, these last final group stage games and how, these groups finish out. And then we'll be able to talk about our knockout stage predictions. But then I can't wait to talk about who goes through between the United States and the Netherlands and in Argentina and Australia and England, how that goes. And then also, these NFL games, how does the 49ers Dolphins finish? And
Mm-hmm.
how does the Chiefs Bengals finish? I think it's going to be, not only critical games, but it's going to be fun to watch and fun to talk about.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to be cranking up a little bit more of content, especially with how sports is going on, football's going off, and the World Cup's going off.
Mm-hmm.
We're probably by the time with this recording, it's probably up Thursday. We're probably
Yeah.
going to be recording again that following Friday
Yep.
for that video, and then we might be working on a video Sunday night. So because we're trying to cover everything, we want to get our words out before we let too much time pass between games, and not to mention probably that after that Sunday, we're not gonna probably upload another episode for probably a week just because we're going on vacation for a week. We'll still be active on social media. We'll probably still be giving out so clips will still be coming out,
Yeah.
but a full episode we probably won't get one until after the 12th. Yeah, probably the 13th of that week in December is when we'll be fully back to what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll have the we'll have it kind of scheduled, so that right before we leave on the trip, we drop an episode so that the whole trip, we can still post the clips like we kind of always do and get that content out. But obviously, it'll be nice to get on vacation. So
Yeah, gotta go to Virginia, bro.
it's gonna be good.
It's gonna be cold over there.
It is. It's gonna be extremely cold. You know,
Uh,
this is off topic, but as I was recording or as I was uploading the episodes to Spotify and the RSS, we were immediately getting downloads from Virginia. It was funny. Ashburn,
They were
Virginia.
camping. They
One
were camping.
I don't know who it is, but to me, I thought it was Will maybe, but I don't know where he lives exactly. But I'm like, who from
I think
Ashburn,
he's like,
Virginia is downloading our
look,
episodes immediately?
whoever from Ashburn, Virginia downloaded something, please hit me up. I'd like to speak to you. Just like to speak to you. I like to know exactly which episodes you downloaded. It could be episodes where I probably didn't exist.
It was every single one.
What?
Yeah, he downloaded every single one.
Dude, I need to find out who this guy is. I need to know.
He's our number one fan.
I gotta know who this is. Just is he either a super fan or is he a super hater? Does he want us, does he want to succeed or does he just hate us? He just wants he's one of those haters. I don't know. I want to know. I'm curious. Because I've never downloaded a thing off Spotify in my whole life.
Yeah.
This guy's downloaded everything. So I just gotta know. I gotta know.
Either way, whether you're the super hater or the super fan, we appreciate the support. And that goes for everybody. We've been running it up on all the social media platforms, like we said at the beginning of the episode. And right now, as things stand, we're at 354 subscribers. We're continuing to slowly but surely climb the ladder and get to our overall goal of, that big 1,000 number. So if you're still around at this point in the episode, which, there's probably not that many, if any, hit that subscribe button down below. It's free. Why not?
Help the YouTube algorithm out just a little bit. It doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt.
Free.
You know what I mean?
It's
free.
It is.
Even though, my partner here doesn't like to do it for all these other channels, do it for us.
Dude, I like video. It just has to be, a certain type of different. I'm just a bit lazy, man. I don't know. I'm like, I don't like things on Instagram either. I just don't like stuff.
You're just a lazy bum.
I can enjoy what I'm watching, but it sounds like I'm a bit of an asshole now, but it's just I don't really take the extra second, which I'm trying to change now because ever since I got into making content, I realized how inconsiderate it kind of is. You're just not taking the second to just like something, but we're all not perfect, man. We all gotta make some changes and start being better at things.
That is true, 100%. But with all that being said, unless you've got any final words, I think it's time to wrap this one up.
No, yeah, I think I covered everything I have to say.
Well, with all that being said, we appreciate everyone for tuning into episode 31 of the Shoot It Straight podcast. We're going to be pumping out the rest of the episodes coming this week, very, very soon, episode 32. To be honest, it's coming in like a day and a half, so it's coming very, very soon. So
about a day,
y'all can be excited. Y'all can be excited for that.
It'll be probably up Saturday.
It'll be up on Saturday. Yeah. So, you got that looking forward to. And, with all that being said, we appreciate all the support. And this was episode 31 of the Shoot It Straight podcast. I'm your co-host, Zach.
I'm your co-host, G.
And we will see y'all next time, man. Peace.